taking control, shoveling dirt in every hole. Predators to condemn your soul, watching you and watching me. We're all connected but separated, misunderstood and so frustrated. A million armies of one have invaded, watching you and watching me. We live behind glass curtains and act like nothing's wrong. Soon you will belong. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. The little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. We the people have taken over. We the people are little brother, standing by to dethrone each other, watching you and watching me. Paranoid, the lens is our weapon, desensitized in our lust for attention, democratized by our voyeur obsessions, watching you and watching me. Slaves to perfection, don't let them project you as you are. Reveal your every flaw. I know you're out there somewhere. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. Little brother wants to make headlines, be immortalized. Everyone's got an electric eye, we're the digital spies. They've watched you for so long. I know you're out there somewhere watching me. I know you're out there somewhere. This is the new totalitarian state. 1,000 eyes are waiting for you to break. Stay in line, don't make a mistake. We're watching. We've watched you for so long. We wait for you to fall. We will expose you all. I know you're out there somewhere watching me.
Let your experience begin right now. From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio. You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on Twitter, @SpacedOutRadio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Superman, that we're the only ones who can be strong, but we break on command, 'cause women rule the world.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride as we are live on Spaced Out Radio.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Said the deeper I go, the deeper I fall.
Good evening and welcome to Space Out Radio. Tonight as we kick off another week, I am your host, Dave Scott, and thank you so much for tuning in and listening to us on spacedoutradio.com and on Spreaker. As we come in from the frozen Canadian tundra, battle our way past the wild animals, sidestep Bigfoot, and enter Uncle Jimbo's cabin, stoke the fire, heat this place up, and broadcast you live on this Monday night, early Tuesday morning if you're on the East Coast. Here at SOR, we do this thing 3 hours a night, 7 days a week. We want to be your official one-stop shop when it comes to the spiritual, paranormal, conspiratorial, supernatural, and so much more. Spaced Out Radio's rocking theme music is provided by guitar god Ron Bumblefoot THAL. You can find his new album, Little Brother Is Watching, by going to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and clicking on the Bumblefoot tab. If you're on social media like I am, follow me on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. At this time, we'd love to send a shout out to our fans listening in on the SHR Media Network in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, along with our fans at Paranormal Forum and those taking part in the new Facebook chat room, SOR Space Travelers. If you're a fan of Spaced Out Radio, coming soon to our website is the Space Travelers membership, where for only $5 a month we'll give you a monthly newsletter, take part in private group interviews, special section on our website, win some prizes, and much, much more. Hey, we're going to give you a heck of a lot more than just access to our archives. That's for sure. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rivulet Reiki and Readings, providing healings in person or at a distance. PurplePlates.com, helping heal your body, mind, and soul. The official newspaper of Spaced Out Radio is the new Agora newspaper, and Spirit Storybox for the iPhone is the official ghost hunting app of SOR. Tonight we step into the paranormal of sorts with some true tales of hauntings, but this spiritual contact actually proves to be quite healing and loving. It's actually kind of cool. Imagine someone from the other side stepping up to help you out of a pretty bad situation. Does it sound possible? We hear of miracles all the time, but until it happens to you, we're really not sure if they truly happen. Let's face it, we're all kind of skeptical until it happens, right? Maureen McGill is the author of Baby It's You. Her collection of stories of people who've been helped from those who passed on is an incredible journey of peace, love, and happiness. Now, I know that sounds a tad cliche, but in the end, when your loved ones come back from the other side to help you, how else really would you describe it? Her book can be found on Amazon right now, so let's check it out and bring in Maureen McGill. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio. Thank you for kicking off another week here.
Thank you, Dave, for that great introduction. Appreciate you.
Oh, no problem. That's kind of what we do here. Now, Maureen, this is something that you do. I'm a storyteller. You're a storyteller. What made you decide to write a book like this?
Dave, I got really interested in the awareness that kind of extends beyond the body. I had a career in dance at a university for 38 years. I retired last year, directed a dance ensemble, and I always felt that this awareness kind of extended beyond the body. And, it's almost that awareness when you walk into a party and you're speaking to somebody and you know that somebody's staring at you from behind. Sure enough, you turn around and there they are staring at you. So it's this awareness that extends beyond the body, and I became real interested in it. I opened up a course called Healing Arts of Mind and Body, and I investigated the International Association of Near-Death Studies. This is a huge international organization where people flatlined, they go over, and then they come back to tell about what it's like on the other side. So I became real interested in that, and just interested in that mystical experiences. So for a first sabbatical project a few years back, I got together with a gal who's the CEO of an assisted living here in this area, and together we wrote a book called Live from the Other Side. And these are true accounts also of messages that loved ones give them after they've been deceased to their family members. These are people from ordinary walks of life. And then we finished that, published by Ozark Mountain Publishing, and I moved on to this next one. I've always had a heart for veterans in my life, and I wanted to reach out to those who have veterans that are on the other side. You've either lost them in war, or stateside accidents, or suicide. And it's the beautiful, loving message of how they connect with their loved ones. They might hear their voice. They might hear that song that comes on the radio at the weirdest times. They might smell their loved one. They might feel their touch. They might get a kiss. Who knows what. It's just absolutely remarkable how the message might come.
Maureen, before you decided to get into this and write these stories, which are absolutely incredible, because I think they're warm, they're heartfelt, they're touching to everybody who needs to know that their family member who has moved on, whether a tragic situation or whether by happenstance or whether just naturally, they need to know that there is something more out there. It's almost a fixation that I think almost every human being has. But before you wrote all of this, were you interested in the paranormal? Was it something that you thought that you would even write about? Was it even on your radar?
It was starting to be on my radar when I started to get interested in the International Association of Near-Death Studies, where they combine the spiritual and the scientific. It's like a cardiologist is working on somebody, in his operating room, and he says, Maureen, afterwards he's telling me everybody who's in the room, and she's under anesthetic, and what we were talking about, what the conversation was. And I thought, what? This awareness definitely exists. And if we can just plug into it, maybe it can really bring some healing to those who have maybe some unresolved grief, that are unresolved situations in their life and they lose loved ones. So I became just real interested in it.
For sure. It almost reminds me, as Eric in our Space Out Radio Space Travelers chat room is saying, it's almost like that movie Flatliners from the late 80s, early 90s, where they really did some tests on near-death experiences and flatlining themselves, starring Kevin Bacon, where they, tried to figure out the answer to life after death. That's almost what it's like, right?
Right. So, the body is not with us, but the awareness, that energetic awareness, is still around us. We're all energy. Everything's energy. Animals, plants, everything that's around us. So that energy continues. We kind of think that when it's over, it's over. But you know what? It's not really over when it's over.
No.
And I think that's what's so interesting about it.
We've had Diane Corcoran on from IANS, and her stories about near-death experiences and the whole science that goes behind it is really starting to gain some traction here, especially lately when the Harvard professor, doctor, I forget his name right now, I apologize, actually came out and said, this is real. There is something to this. We need to study this a little bit more. Do you see a lot more people now, Maureen, starting to take near-death experiences a little bit more seriously, that there is something truly going on rather than just energy and static going on in the brain as we start to pass away?
I think so. These stories and accounts, accountability of how these messages come, through these experiences. It's just absolutely remarkable how in the near-death experiences, how loved ones will go over and they'll meet their animals, animals that they've lost. And then they'll come back and they'll talk about how they saw their different animals, or they saw family members, or, they validated certain information that they wouldn't have known, if they hadn't had that experience. So it's pretty remarkable. Also, in your experiences, they will often come back with different talents. So they might become very psychic when they come back, or they might become very musically talented, or just have different particular talents that they come back with. It's pretty remarkable how it works.
Right, it's almost like having your own doppelganger effect if you're seeing yourself on a table and then seeing yourself up above your body watching this happen. I could just imagine what that is like. I've known people who have had near-death experiences. I've never had one myself, and all the weird experiences that I have, I think that's the one that I wouldn't want at this time. But when you look at everything, have you ever thought to yourself that there has to be something scientific with this, or do you think that this is a study that is just way overlooked right now by science, because science really has the attitude, when you're dead, you're dead?
Well, I think that there's a bridge now with science and spirituality. Organizations like International Association of Near-Death Studies that confirm thousands and thousands of cases. They have researchers now, internationally. It's not just in one country, it's all around the world that these stories become almost sequential in the sense that everyone has had some kind of experience, or they will in their lifetime have had some kind of experience like it. They sometimes refer to woo-woo experiences, not just simply flatline, go over and come back, but maybe a woo-woo. You might have had a woo-woo in your life. I've had a couple of woos in my life where you go, could that have been real? Could that song really have come on at that time? I mean, that's impossible. Or did I really just hear my dad's voice? Or what was that, So, yes, I just think that the science is out there now, and they're confirming it more and more.
Have you ever had your own near-death experience?
I have not had a near-death experience. I have had a woo-woo experience. I have heard my dad's voice. I was just about ready to have a car accident. It was just going to be a fender bender, but I decided to drive my car along the Tacoma waterfront, and in the front of the vehicle was another vehicle, an SUV, filled with some young gals, and there was a group of GIs that were running along the waterfront. And in my mind's eye, I thought, I hope those girls don't get distracted by those fellas. And just as I had that thought, I heard my dad's voice as clear as a whistle go, pump your brakes, pump your brakes. Now, my dad had been gone for quite some time, but he had gotten a new car every 2 years. And being in the car made perfect sense, and my dad was in the back seat just taking care of me. So I tried to put my brakes, but of course we don't have those kind of brakes anymore. But it was just a fender bender, and it wasn't so bad. But, I could care less about the little accident I just had. All I kept thinking is my dad's in the back seat. So, yes, I would say that I had that validation experience. I've talked to other people that have had remarkable experiences, just like in my book. It's just uncanny how these experiences happen, and it's just validating. And a lot of times we want to deny that it just happened.
We are talking with author Maureen McGill tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her book can be found on Amazon, Baby, It's You. It's about stories from those from the other side and near-death experiences. It's a great story. We're going to get into some of those stories at the bottom of the hour. We're just meeting Maureen right now. Maureen, when you see these stories or you hear these stories that are brought to your light, did you have to go searching hard for them, or was it something that, a lot of people were willing to give up this kind of research because they wanted to know what is truly going on?
It really was easy. I just seemed to put the information out on social media, and it seems like one military widow told another military widow, told another mother of a veteran, and the line just kind of kept going into social media. So it seemed like they were ready to tell the story. And what I love about these stories is that they're truly love stories. How these couples met in real life, and then how they meet now. And, of course, there's a couple of stories from 3 surviving heroes, and there's some stories from a couple of moms, and a couple of stories from 9/11 where those were also heroes in the book as well, a fireman story, and then another story on a financial worker who worked in the Twin Towers. And it's just remarkable what the message was when they came through on this side, I wrote a beautiful poem at the beginning of the book about how these couples meet and then how they meet now. So at some time in the show, I'd love to share that poem with your viewers tonight.
One of the things that I love about this topic is it really can go anywhere with these stories. And how did you narrow it down into what stories to use for your book? Because I'm pretty sure there was probably a heck of a lot more that came across your desk and across your interviewing before you had to finally say, okay, how many can I choose for this book?
It was a little complicated to be able to choose that, and of course editors help to, to choose which stories meant more as a viewer, but I felt like those stories where the hair on your arms just kind of goes straight up, or where the person who's telling the story said, Maureen, it was so real. It was just so real. And it was that kind of intensity in their voice that helped me to decide, that's the story I want to share. I want to include all the senses. How they might have smelled their loved one, how they might have felt their touch, how they might have felt their kiss, or they might have smelled their loved one's fragrance in a real way that people come through from the other side. And I bet many in your studio audience have smelled their loved ones or had situations where they walked in the room and they went, oh my gosh, I think I just smelled my grandmother. Or I just smelled those baking cookies, that we used to bake when we were kids. The fragrance is a way. And then, of course, electronics are another way. And I'm sure you know with the ghost stories that you've talked to other writers about, that electronics, are often another way that the loved ones can come through.
Well, the funny part that you just mentioned in regards to people who have had that experiences, I'm going to tell you right now, about 45 minutes before the show, I had a friend of mine who lives in Indiana. We were chatting on Facebook, and she was telling me, she's like, Dave, there are orbs and spirits everywhere in my room right now. I don't know what to do. It's crowded in here. So it made me kind of smile and laugh, because as you're saying that, I'm reminding, hey, this just happened 45 minutes ago to a friend of mine. It can happen just that quickly, can't it?
It sure can. And by the way, I'm originally from Indiana, northern Indiana, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, light. People often say that they see light or whatever. To tell you the truth, Dave, I don't really want to see that. I don't really want to be scared by that or see that, although some people are not scared by it. But there's ways that you can clear, or there's ways that you can send your loved ones on, if that's not something that you want, that's necessarily that experience. Or maybe you just want that little blurb or that little dream that says, tell me that you're nearby. Tell me that you're here. Give me a sign. Maybe the sign will be something in nature where the bird comes up to the window, or you just have to be ready for the sign. That's all I say, set your intention. Set your intention.
Well, let's talk about the signs for a second, Maureen. When you mentioned the signs of what people should mean or should be looking for, are they signs that they need to be able to reflect on from the past? Is it signs like you just mentioned, birds flying near a window or tapping on a window, or is it just anything? Because I think a lot of people, with the way society is now, a lot of people aren't sure what they should be looking for.
So one of the things that's interesting about signs, and I feel this philosophy in terms of communicating to the other side, is however you communicated with your loved one when we were here, where you really had those great conversations. Maybe it was in the kitchen with your mom, Maybe you like to cook together. Or maybe it was outside in the yard with your dad. Or maybe it was with your son when you were on the motorcycle. But it's those situations where you really had some times where you talked together or that you experienced. And it seems to me that a sign can sometimes come through from that experience. So if you always cooked, maybe you'll get that smell of cooking bacon. I've heard that a lot from people. Oh, my mom always would make scrambled eggs and bacon in the morning. Sometimes I can come down and smell bacon, cooking in the kitchen before it's even happening. So sometimes it's a vibration of how they communicated when they were here that they can come through. I have this philosophy, and I don't know where it actually comes from, but I believe that the vibration on the other side is much faster. And you will often find so many of these accounts that our loved ones are at a higher place on the other side in the sense of it's a faster vibration. It's they're healer, they're younger, they're healed from their wounds. They look wonderful. The wrinkles are gone on their skin. Their wounds are gone. And so to me, when we're kids, that vibration is high. Kids are young. Kids are vibrant. And on the other side, I feel like that vibration is also high too. And that's a way that they can come through, is through that higher vibration. It could be that if you want that message to come to the window through the hummingbird, you just set that intention and say, hey, Mom, I want that message tomorrow that you come through as a bird.
Mm-hmm. What if it's unexpected, though? And I'll give you an example from my life. When my daughter, who's 17 now, when she was about 5-6 months old, I remember picking her up, and she smelled like her diaper was full, as babies do. But as I brought her closer to me, I totally smelled my grandfather. And my grandfather, when I was a child, I used to go to my grandparents every week because my grandfather was like my hero. And he had in his garage this little lawnmower shop where he rebuilt lawnmowers. And his garage smelt of a combination of old cut grass mixed with gasoline and oil and grease and dirt. And, you know, it was just such a pungent smell. And when I picked up my daughter, she reeked of this odor that I hadn't smelled in years. I said to my ex-wife, I said, can you smell this? And she goes, no, I smell baby powder. I'm like, you don't smell this smell of grass and everything. And she's like, no. And it stuck around for about 10-15 minutes. Now, at that point, I really hadn't had any paranormal experiences in my life. And this came just way out of the blue. It came literally 4 years after my grandfather had died. What would you make of a story like that?
I think it comes just like you said, when you least expected. Your grandfather's probably around that beautiful granddaughter that he wasn't able to see in this life, but he's around her now, And he wants you to know that he's there, he's protecting her, he's helping out, whatever that might be, whatever his duties might be, but I think it's a recognition that he's saying to you and with her,
Well, I hope so. Because he was a pretty good guy, and it's funny because I remember telling my grandmother about this after it happened, and she says right out of the blue, like I thought she'd be weirded out by it, but her first words to me was, "It doesn't surprise me." And I said, "What do you mean it doesn't surprise you?" And my grandfather had 3 boys, my dad and my 2 uncles, and my grandmother said to me, well, he always wanted a daughter. And so,
there you go.
My bloodline, my dad has 1 child, it's me, my uncle has 1 child, that's a boy, my other uncle didn't have children, so going down the bloodline, unscientifically, we think, well, I should be having boys, not a girl, and here I have this girl. So it was just it's something that has always kind of resonated with me in the possibility of how those who love us on the other side have the ability to affect what we're doing today.
And it's so beautiful that your grandmother was able to confirm that, he always wanted a daughter. He always wanted a granddaughter. So he's there with her. He's helping her, whatever. It's just amazing. And he's giving you that recognition by, whoa, out of the blue. You smell that, fragrance that reminds you of your grandpa. It's remarkable how it comes.
We are talking with Maureen McGill tonight. Her book is Baby, It's You. It can be found on Amazon right now. Do you ever get sick of hearing these stories? Is it too much because the book is already published? Because I've talked to some authors where they're like, I've written the book, I got so much information, I just need to take a break from this all. But are you like that? Do you still get excited by the stories?
Oh, I'm just so excited about it, because to me, it truly means that love never dies, that they're always there, that it always continues. And any time to share those messages or those loving messages that come forward, I'm just so excited about it. I can't tell you enough.
I had a lady, I don't know if you know her, she's out of New York, her name is Dr. Jamie Turndorf. She has written a book called Love Never Dies, and she met her late husband. He was a professor, she was a college teacher's assistant, and that's how they met. And they fell in love, and they were together, and since he passed away, he is still with her and still communicating with her. And when we did our interview, I was chatting with her on Skype, and she's like, don't be surprised if Jean makes his presence. And I recall just hanging out. We're taking a break because it was one of the rare shows that I actually had to record. I hope my audience didn't hear that because I don't record too much. But one of the things that happened during when we were taking a break is all of a sudden there was this muffled male voice that came through. And I said to her, I said, "Doctor, did you hear that?" She goes, "Hear what?" I said, "Well, I just heard this male voice come through your speaker very muffly." And she starts laughing, and she goes, "I told you Jean would show up." Like it was just natural to her.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just natural. But the love doesn't stop on the other side, does it?
It doesn't stop, and it's healed over there. You know, we go through divorces here, we go through alienation, we go for this and go for that, but the more I hear these stories, they kind of line up over there. They're all together in this family of love. It's truly love heals on the other side, and that message can continue in that kind of eternal way, even though the body would love to be able to hug them, we'd love to be able to hold their hand, but you know what? That message comes in a different way. It shows us that the love is still around, that they're still there. They're not sitting at the cemetery, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Our guest tonight is Maureen McGill on Spaced Out Radio. Maureen, I'm going to get you to hold on. We are going to take our first break of the night. When we come back, we're going to find out a couple stories in Maureen's book, Baby It's You. It can be found on Amazon right now. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Talk to you on the other side.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Hi there. This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is Elizabeth Anglin, and on the last Monday of every month, I join Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's Cosmic Passport. We delve into everything from extraterrestrial contact to animal communication. It's a lot of fun, and every month it's something different and exciting. I would love it if you would join us. You can hear and learn from my experiences, and I'd like to know about yours as well. Cosmic Passport on SpacedOutRadio.com.
Hey everybody, this is Patrick Webster Small, and I'm here to bring you the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night, live at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern. If you're looking for aliens and extraterrestrials, well, we've got them. Big and tall, short and small. You're bound to find what you're looking for, so join me on the Webster Phenomena right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Have you ever wondered about those weird and strange creatures people have reported throughout history? Do you wonder if those stories are real? Me too, and that's why I started Cryptopia.us. Hey, this is Rob Morphy, crypto historian. Join me once a month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will get into the odd and bizarre reports, from the Dover Demon to hairy hominids and everything in between. I will break down what people like you and me are seeing at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost?
Look no further than Spaced Out Radio.
SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click on to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on radio
or our website, including social media.
From commercial spots to banners, we have it all.
Check out our competitive pricing today.
Want to connect with us online? Find us on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show, on Twitter, @Spaced Out Radio, on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR, on YouTube, Spaced Out Radio Show, and our website is spacedoutradio.com. All right, space travelers, here comes the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. If you're on the SHR Media Network listening in, if you're in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, Paranormal Forum, or the SOR Space Travelers on Facebook, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Always a pleasure to broadcast to you live. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going back into the woods. Edie Kaito and Mike Johnson will be with us. We're going to talk about Bigfoot, because these are some pretty pleasant Bigfoot stories. Almost makes the creature sound very enjoyable to be around. That's tomorrow night on the mighty SOR with me, Dave Scott. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give your Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel is Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to that so you can hear our archives. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, for the second time tonight, we bring in author Maureen McGill. She is the author of Baby, It's You, stories about those who've passed on, real-life ghost heroes, if we can call it that. Maureen's book can be found on Amazon right now. Maureen, thank you so much for being with us.
And thank you, Dave, for having me on. Actually, the title is Baby, It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes. And this little book is published by Ozark Mountain Publishing. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, no problem. I'm just happy you're with us, to be honest. That's what I get excited about. I want to start off
that's great.
I want to start off with a question from Joe in the SOR Space Travelers chat room in Facebook here. And he's asking, Maureen, do dead loved ones come and visit by sitting on your bed at night? Maybe a dozen times in my life, I have been lying in bed half asleep when someone sits on the bed, but then no one's there.
You know, I've heard that from many, many people, that they come and visit us at night in that dream state when we're deeply kind of half awake sometimes, or half into the deep dream state, that they will often sit at the edge of the bed. And maybe he just needs to set his intention, you know, who is it who's visiting? Do they have a dream for me, or do they have a message for me? And just keep asking every night, and maybe he'll be able to either see that loved one, or he'll get a sense of who it is. Sometimes you just get a sense, you know, that's my grandma, you know, or that's my dad or my mom checking in on me. Who knows? Yeah.
Are we able to talk to them when they're here? Like, do they understand what we are saying? So, for instance, let's say you feel a presence like Joe did in his bedroom. Are we able, or do we have the free will to communicate and say, hey, I know you're there. Can you show me who you are, or tell me who you are?
I think we have that ability to communicate. I wouldn't say that I have all the answers on that. If I had all the answers, I'd be the God, I guess, here, the goddess of the earth plane. But I do think that there's a level of communication. And if we just set our intention, we can kind of do that. We can talk to them. We can speak to them. You hear many stories of widows or widowers who go to the cemetery and just talk to their loved ones after they lose them, and they just kind of carry on that conversation. Or sometimes they get answers in a dream if they have a question about a certain issue that's going on here. And sometimes I think that other side might be able to pierce that veil to come through. I don't think it's always possible, you know, just like, who knows? I mean, there's not absolutes in this world, I don't believe, in terms of the answers. Are you there, Dave?
Yes, I am. Do all spirits communicate?
Do all spirits communicate? if I had that answer, if I could see everybody on the other side or be able to connect with that, I would have that answer and say yes. But I think that there is a way that spirits can connect with us, but I can't say that it's an absolute, all spirits do that, or I don't have that answer. I'm not an expert, a PhD in the spirit world. I do think that there are people here on the planet that have skills such as mediumship skills, where they have that microphone developed, where they can really put in that calling line to the other side. And they have skills that are developed, highly, in-tune skills. There's Finley College over in England, and people can develop their spiritualist skills. There's a spiritualist religion, actually, that also connects with that mediumship ability to call into the other side.
How often would you recommend then someone, say, who is hurting because a child was lost or a spouse was lost, that they visit a medium, in your opinion, to try and connect?
I feel like it's one more tool in the grease tool box that one can help get support. There's even a technique called guided afterlife connections now. There's a counselor here in the Northwest who takes people to meet their loved ones in a counseling session, where she does this technique called bilateral stimulation, where she gets the brain to kind of speed up, and then she feels that speeding up of the brain waves can then help that loved one that's here connect with their loved one on the other side and make that communication. Now, is it 100%? No, it's not 100%. But many times it does work. And so unresolved grief can, be resolved because of that.
Have you seen firsthand any of these experiences that you wrote about?
The only thing I've seen firsthand would be hearing a voice, having connections with mediumships and mediums who really do have finely tuned skills that are able to communicate to the other side, to my family or to loved ones on the other side. So I would say that was validated in that way. And mostly just reading the research in the International Association of Near-Death Study that validates it for me. That really validates that there is this connection and there is this love thread that never dies. It's all about love, It's not about spooky ghosts or anything like that to me. It's only about that divine thread of love.
We are talking with author Maureen McGill tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Her latest book, Baby It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes, can be heard on the other side. How did you come up with this name?
Well, actually, many of these widows, he called her baby and she called him baby. And so in that, I thought, wow, I remember that song, back from the Shirelles did on Baby It's You. And I thought, he calls her baby, she calls him baby, so let's call it Baby It's You. And actually a friend helped me kind of come up with the title, something kind of catchy where he called her baby, she called him baby. And we have a nice, beautiful illustration on the front of the cover of a radio. And each of the stories in the book is connected to a song, which was their song. I don't know if you and your wife have a song, Dave, but most couples have a song that's kind of their song. And many of the widows shared with me their songs, and the mothers of veterans, they shared their songs, which was their song, that comes on the radio when they least expect it. Or they're in church and that song comes on when they least expect it. Or they're in the elevator and it comes on when they least expect it.
Elizabeth Anglin, who is part of Space Out Radio's team Cosmic Passport, she tells a fantastic story about when her friend passed away. Right before he passed away, he had installed a tape deck or a CD player into her car, and it just was not working well, and he was trying to fix it, and then he suddenly passed away. And the next day when she got into her car, the stereo was working great, and it was a lineup of about 5 or 6 songs that he absolutely adored that played one after another on the radio. And it's just amazing because if they can go manipulate a radio station to get that fix on your own personal radio for one thing, that's a lot of power for a spirit on the other side.
It could be, electronics seem to be a real thread for them. That electronic vibration seemed to be a real thread. And music has its own kind of loving vibration of their favorite connecting, a way that connected when they were here. So it is pretty remarkable, though, that they can break that veil to come through to do that, but who knows how it works if we had the answers.
I would love to know how it works. I would love to know.
Bestsellers.
Well,
Bestsellers.
let's start something off right now, and I would love for you to tell us a story about an American soldier.
So if it will be okay with you, I think what I'd like to do is tell you about how these couples met, and these are true ways that they met in the book, and then how they meet now. So we met in the laundry room in college. He carried my underwear to the dorm room. In high school at a wrestling tournament through my cousin. At Walmart where we worked. At a country bar on a Thursday night. At a nightclub on the dance floor. At a costume party with a mask and a hat. On Instant Messenger, I was 17 and he was 19. Through his best friend Jeremy. In grade school when we played on the playground. We met on Facebook. And we were married after 1 month of dating at the pawn shop on New Year's Eve. In the convertible when I stopped for a red light and he pulled up right next to me. At Burger King where we both worked at age 16. On a website called Hot or Not where we exchanged photos. When he was a football player and I was a cheerleader. But we meet now in my dreams. In the hallway when I smell him. In bed when I feel his skin touch mine. When I see his silhouette, his shoulders, his head, and how he held out his arms like he was holding a blanket. When the song comes on the radio, at the restaurant, at church, or in the elevator. When I find pennies on the ground or in the weirdest places. When the basketball bounces on the court and no one's there. When I see him staring at me from the waist up. When I find a Dutch key ring in the middle of the desert. When I meet the police officer who's wearing your memory bracelet. When I hear your voice saying, my son. When the kids see you standing in uniform on the porch. When I find a heart-shaped sticker on a leaf. When the digital frame stops for no reason at your photo. When he comes to me in my dreams with a message. When I hear his voice singing his favorite song. At last. So it's remarkable. All of these are the ways that the couples met and then how they meet now. And it's so beautiful to know that, they have these horrible memories of, of that knock on the door that's everlasting, and that imprint of the knock on the door when the military personnel walked up to their door to give them the sad news, to this place now where they can meet their loved ones in the sweetness and have that wonderful memory and wonderful sensibility that they're still around.
For a lot of people, that puts a real lump in their throat. I have one right now because this is true emotion. This is true binding love and pain and solace in regards to this. How many tears did you shed as you heard these stories? Because I know for me, and probably a lot of our listeners, there's a lot of emotional people out there. And people who are spiritual, when you hear stories like this, it kind of brings up those emotions that, you just don't want to have, but, they're out there every day.
And, it kind of turns it around. The press wants to know how they died and what was the message like when you answered the door and what were you doing? And they go, Maureen, we just want to tell you what about this dream that I just had, but I know he was in the room. Or, Maureen, I just want to tell you about I know I could smell him. I know that was his cologne. I know that was it, And so when I get that kind of connection with these people when they're telling me these stories, that to me is true love. That to me lifts that veil of grief and that heaviness and that sadness to the point of, oh my gosh, they're here and there's nothing to be sad about. Yeah, I wish I could hold them again, or I wish I could, kiss or whatever, but to know that they still feel our hearts, to me, it's just remarkable. That imprint never leaves. I say that it's all good, it's all bad, and it's all ugly, but it's all truly beautiful, and it's everlasting love.
I would love it if you would take the time to tell us a story about Sergeant Patrick McCaffrey.
I will tell you the story about Patrick, and I can kind of condense the story a little bit because it's a little bit of a longer story. But Patrick is a beautiful mother named Maddie McCaffrey, And by the way, Nadia has had national recognition here in the United States for helping veterans across the country and establishing centers for them, work centers for them, and opening her home to veterans, opening into veterans' rights, and to be a real spokesperson for veterans across the country. But anyway, her son, Patrick, was a mechanic in California. And during 9/11, he decided that he was going to make a difference in this world. He decided to join forces and to fight in Iraq, to go over to Iraq. And I have to say that very sadly, Patrick did not come back from Iraq. And it was, of course, a sad thing because Patrick had 2 children. He had a son and a daughter. And it was very sad, that he was leaving not only his mom, but his wife and a son and a daughter behind. And it was quite sad. And so this was I think it was about a year, or it could have been just a little bit longer than that, where Patrick's mother, Nadia, had a dream about Patrick. And Patrick came to her in a dream, and he was in his fatigues and everything. And she said, Maureen, it was like a dream, but it was also like a waking moment. And it was so real. She said the hair on my arm was just sitting right straight up, And he came to her, and he whispered in his mom's ear, and he said the words, my son. And she said, what? And she kind of got to that truly waking point, and she thought, I better call my daughter-in-law and make sure that my grandson is okay. So she called the daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law agreed that the grandson is just fine. There's nothing to worry about. And she has a dream for a second night in a row. And the same thing happens. Patrick's there. She can almost smell it. It's so real. And he says, Mom, my son. So then she's really getting worried about the grandson. So she decides to talk to the grandson herself. And she talks to the grandson, and he's doing fine. There's nothing to worry about, Grandma. It's okay. And then she has the same experience for a third night. Same thing. Patrick's there in his fatigues, leans into her, and he says, Mom, my son. Okay, so the next morning, the phone rings. And on the other line on the phone is this young man, and he's crying on the phone. And he says to Nadia, my dad died in Iraq. And Nadia's thinking, what? I mean, who is this? Who are you, And he said, my dad died in Iraq. My dad was Patrick McGill. And so Nadia said, well, who was your mother? And he said, Monique. And Monique was somebody that Patrick had dated in high school. And when Patrick and Monique broke up, Patrick couldn't understand it. He didn't know why she broke up. She decided to leave town, and he couldn't explain it to his mother. And the mother really thought that they were kind of in love, so she was surprised as well. Well, Monique had never told Patrick that she had a baby and that she had this beautiful son. And so this was many years later, 18 years later, that this boy discovered that his dad had died in Iraq because Monique let him know that. She knew that was in the press and in the papers. And so anyway, here Nadia, the grandmother, gets this message, from the grandson through Patrick, who prepares her that the grandson is going to be calling. Patrick never knew that he had a son, but he found that out on the other side. So to me, that was just really remarkable. And for Nadia to bring the families together, and she said, Maureen, this son looked so much like my son. He ordered the same food at the restaurant. He had similar characteristics. He had the same sporting team that he loved. There were all these similarities of her son, Patrick, so she knew that was him. There was no doubt, But it was really quite beautiful that Patrick had given his mom that message to prepare her that she had this other grandson out there. So I think that was probably the most remarkable story to me, and really quite a beautiful story because Patrick had the message when he got to the other side, and then he shared that with his mom.
That's a beautiful story, and I think everybody has goosebumps or chills going up their spine in regards to this. But there was something else interesting that I found about this story too. It deals with The Lion King, the movie.
Oh, right, The Lion King. So his little daughter was young men, And this was the night before Patrick was deployed to Iraq. And the little girl, Janessa, she was age 2, and she was sitting in the master bedroom, and she was watching the Lion King movie. It was one of her favorite movies. And she watched the Disney feature maybe an average of 5 times a day. She loved it so much. But at the part in the Lion King when Mufasa is killed in an ambush, betrayed by his brother, Janessa grabbed onto her dad, because Patrick was there that night before his deployment, and she said, "Daddy, Daddy, that's you, Daddy, that's you, and we're dying." And Patrick kind of ran to the kitchen to his mom, and he goes, and to Sylvia, his wife, they were cooking, and he said, "Mom, do you know what Janessa just told me?" She says, "I'm not coming back, Mom. Do you think I'm not coming back?" And of course the mom said, "Of course you are. She's just a baby sweetheart. She doesn't really know." And Janessa was only 2 years old, and she had that sensibility, before Patrick went. So that was just another part of the story, before he left. That little young ones often have that feeling, they have that knowingness. They're much more open to the intuition and the guidance that's given.
I could just feel the pit in his stomach hearing his daughter at 2 years old say that. And you had to wonder if that was a psychic premonition from the young lady, only a toddler at 2, or if it's from what we hear, where a lot of toddlers, because they're so new on this earth, that they're still connected to the other side. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does make you wonder. They speak about these indigo children that have these gifts now, these intuition gifts. So many times, children are just so open. Their imaginations are open. Their energy connectors are open to me. They're just wide open. And, from whatever experiences we have and different religious point of views and different philosophies that we grow up with, sometimes that's shut down, that guide to intuition, and it's just not always there. I believe that it can be there, it can connect us, but sometimes it just gets shut down, but children are often a conduit, for that connection.
Have you noticed a lot with children in regards to these stories that parents would basically say, you know what, that's just an active imagination, much like in this situation where their premonitions come true?
There's one other story where the children are about ready to go off to school in the morning, and it was after their dad died, and the mom was waving. It was their first day of school, and Mom was waving to them at the school bus. And she looked at the kids, and they were turned back, and they looked at the mom on the porch, and they both turned white as ghosts. And they ran back to their mom for a second, and they said, "Mom, we just saw Dad standing next to you waving." And they both saw the dad. So, to me, there's something here. The children, both of them saw the dad. It's not like just one saw the dad, but both of them saw the dad. So do you want to believe it? Whatever. You can believe it or you can not believe it, or you can think it's their imagination. But somehow, to me, how can both of them see that and not be real, or at least real to them?
Do you believe children then have that sixth sense until society, school, education, friends, family kind of drag it out of them to forget?
I think they do, because as I talked to you before, I think that vibration is faster with kids. They're in that fast vibration that's so open and so full of energy and so full of connecting, to the world, that they can easily connect to perhaps this side and the other side. Who knows? Who knows that answer? But I do think children are very open. They'll talk about imaginary friends. Are they really imaginary? Maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Who knows?
And here they are just trying to be all innocent and have an adult conversation. And here we are as adults not paying attention to what their words may be saying. It's kind of interesting how we should be listening a little bit more.
That's beautiful, Dave. If more parents could do that, just listen, just play along, just be with those imaginations, and how rich that is for children. Even if it goes into that area of imagination, whether it be in the arts in some way that's developed in the child, maybe they become great writers or great cartoonists, who knows what they will become, in their future, but just to be open to what the gifts are and to nurture those gifts is terrific, but not to deny that imagination.
Yeah, it really is a gift. That's something that I have always tried to do as a parent, is try and listen to what my children were saying. My oldest daughter, she has seen spirits since she was literally a year and a half old. My stepdaughter has seen spirits since she was 7. I'm not sure about the little guy as of yet, but I mean, you sit there and you think, you know, they have no reason to make up these stories. They're not lacking attention. They're not starving for attention. They're not, you know, in any health concerns. They're healthy. They're rambunctious, typical kids. And when you see them come out with these stories that just seem so far-fetched, you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. At least that's my opinion of it.
And if anything, it's a way to nurture their imagination, you know. So to me, it's just another way to nurture that imagination, whatever it might be, whatever venue that they might take it. They might take it into writing later. They might take it into storytelling, whatever it might be in their future. But it's a great way to nurture imaginations when they're young, to give them those experiences of music and movement and guide their little souls that are so creative and beautiful and full of love.
Maureen, I'm going to get you to hold on here as we are at the top of the hour. We are going to step out for a break after hour number 1 is complete. Maureen will be with us for the second hour here. Maureen McGill, author of Baby It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes. We're going to find out more about these stories, and you can find Baby It's You, Message from Deceased Heroes on Amazon right now. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be back after this break.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio on the Spreaker.com network.
Do you believe you've been in contact with extraterrestrials? Have you seen the Greys, the Mantids, or the Reptilians? I am Samantha Mullet, and on the second Tuesday of each month, you can listen and learn from my experiences with off-worlders on Spaced Out Radio's The ET Experience. With host Dave Scott, we'll sit down and chat about what's going on with our friends from other worlds. We'll also try to answer your questions, so please tune in on the second Tuesday of the month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio. And we give it up to you guys, all the listeners, and the live listeners usually get something special and hang out in the chat room. And we love to have you. So we'll see you every Saturday night at 8 p.m. You know where.
If you're a fan of social media, you can follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also follow us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are stored, is Spaced Out Radio Show. And of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio for hour number 2. We really appreciate you joining us. If you're on the SHR Media Network listening in, if you're in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, SOR Space Travelers, or Paranormal Forum, we really appreciate you taking the time and spending your evening with us. Thank you so much. Tomorrow night on the show, we're going to have Edie Kaito and Mike Johnson. They're going to be talking Bigfoot tomorrow night. It's going to be interesting because we're going to learn that Bigfoot maybe isn't this rough and tumble character that many people think is actually roaming the forests of North America. That's tomorrow night on Spaced Out Radio. On social media, if you want to follow us, hit us up on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where we hide our archives, is Spaced Out Radio Show. Just click on subscribe for that. And, of course, our website is spacedoutradio.com. We are talking ghosts with author Maureen McGill. Her latest book, Baby It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes, is on Amazon right now. And the good news is we've already had one of our listeners pick up your book on Amazon because it just sounded so darn intriguing that they had to get it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Well, you know what? That's what we do. We're selling your books here. That's what we're doing. You know, but on a serious side, you know, we bring on authors such as yourself sometimes who really have a true tale to tell. It's not about a bunch of fact. It's not about fiction. It's not about science. It's about real, true life stories that people are having with their experiences in regards to this. I know I asked you before in regards, Maureen, to if you ever get sick of hearing these stories, but since the book has come out, have you had a plethora of people coming up to you saying, I need to tell you this story. I need to fill you in on what's happening with me when my loved one passed away?
You know, those experiences have come to me, and when I've lectured about the book or I've had situations where we've had some book signings, people are really excited to tell me what their experiences are. Many times it's that their experiences have been through the senses, that they could smell their loved one, they knew that fragrance of the cologne or the perfume, or oftentimes it's that song that comes on the radio that they like, oh, how could that be? You know, that song came on the elevator at that moment, you know.
Mm-hmm. Earlier on, you mentioned about pennies. This isn't the first time I've heard spirits connected with pennies. What have you been able to figure out about that?
You know, I just think, like Dave, it's just another way that they connect. And some people have, you know, talked about this pennies from heaven. You know, that's kind of been a term that's been around for many years. And there's a couple of widows in the book that have had experiences with coins in an elevator, coins in the car, coins under the seat. It's like, how could that possibly have been there? How could that coin, possibly have been there? There's a situation where the coin actually had the name of the veteran on there. It was like, oh my gosh, how could that? It was one of these kind of stamped coins with an angel thing with a name on there that was found at It's like, what? How could that possibly happen? But I think it's another way that they come through. It's just another way that they connect. And pennies seem to be a way. Fellas often carry change in their wallets or in their pockets, and maybe it's just a way to connect with that metal. Maybe the metal is the conduit. I don't know. I mean, they try to be scientific about it. I don't think that we have the answer, But I do think it's pretty neat that people have that experience with pennies.
Do people think when they have these experiences, Maureen, that pretty soon they might be pushing their own dandelions if they keep following these stories? Or is it all about peace and love and the feeling that they haven't or don't have to let go of their loved ones who have moved on?
I think it's just another tool that helps them to let go, that helps them to know that it's okay. They don't have to be in that place of fear anymore, that they know that their loved one is okay. That seems to be what they want to know. The message more than anything, is that person okay? Are they okay? Are they all right? Are they being taken care of, nurtured or whatever? And that's a reassurance for many times. Many times. It's a reassurance. Do they want more messages? Yeah, some of them really do want more messages. Do they want to try to connect with them every day? Maybe some people are still moving through the grief and it takes them longer. There's another book by Reverend Bill McDonald, Bill McDonald and Jr., and he wrote a book called Warrior, A Spiritual Odyssey. And Bill's had a remarkable, 5 or 6 near-death experience, but also he's a Vietnam veteran. He wrote the foreword for my book, but he also wrote his own book about his spiritual journey with an unending dysfunctional childhood that he had, and then this astonishing tour of Vietnam where he should have never come back alive. And he goes on to now tell his story, and he's actually going on a European tour here pretty soon to tell his story over in Europe of this beautiful book that he wrote called Warrior, A Spiritual Odyssey. And he wrote the foreword for me as a Vietnam veteran and also as a chaplain in the Army. And he really talks about that. It's all good and it's all bad and it's all ugly. But he says, it's life after death, and that knowingness that the departed are still with us. Love never dies. It's the smiles and the kisses, that are with us forever. And that's what's truly remarkable, that a veteran himself can go through all those experiences,
Mm-hmm.
And never doubt the power of love, he says, to cross over and embrace us at any time or any place. He says, he found in his own life experiences that this is to be true. He's had a share over and over mystical experiences in his life that have confirmed that heaven's door is truly open. So he's pretty cool. And so then his Reverend Bill McDonald wrote a book called Warrior, A Spiritual Odyssey.
Do you ever get people who look at this as a negative? And the reason why I'm asking that is there's a lot of people out there who say, one of their loved ones passes on and their favorite flower was petunias, and one of their loved ones keeps bringing the aroma of petunias around. And because they are grieving so bad, they cannot let go of that pain, and therefore look at this experience almost as a curse rather than something that is loving and helpful.
I just haven't run into that too much, Dave. I'll be honest with you. I really haven't run into many people that have had that or felt that. Usually if they get those flowers or they get that fragrance, it's another way for them to deal with their grief. It's not like, oh, I want them here, I want them here. But it's simply a message that, yes, they are here. And I'm sure there's people out there that, have that same kind of sensibility, what you just said, that have the negative side of it. It takes the negative and the positive here to be part of this world that we're in these bodies,
I have a question from Nick Knack in the Space Out Radio chat room for you. He is asking, how do you distinguish between a real experience or one that is made up from a young child?
Well, from a young child, I don't know really how you would distinguish that, except that you would have a sense of knowingness. You know, there's a sense of knowingness when spirit pierces through the side that's different than just a dream. It's just not like an ordinary dream. And just with children, it's just like not an ordinary experience. It's something different. You can't really explain it. I wish I had the science to say, now, how do you have them fill out an evaluation form as a little kid? I mean, you can't really do that. You can only simply go to that tone of knowingness, that tone of belief, that tone that it goes beyond your imagination, that this is really happening to them, you know? It's just a matter of sensing, knowing, being aware of it. Can you be totally sure that that's the case? I don't know. Like, it's just a knowingness. I always say that it's that knowingness, and that's what intuition is so much about, you know? Dave, did I lose you in the chat room?
No, I got this sticky, silly microphone button that it mutes, and when I hit it sometimes, it's like a double tap where it doesn't turn on, or it turns on and then turns itself off. It frustrates the living daylights out of me, because I was asking you a darn good question, too. What I was saying in regards to a follow-up on your answer to Knick-Knack's question is, for a lot of parents, at least in my own experience with my children, I always tried to listen to them because it seemed like they got a little bit more serious when they were talking about someone on the other side or dealing with something on the other side. And it was very serious to them, and it just really seemed like, you know, it was important to them that they got this message out. Normally, as parents, we kind of say, well, that's just imagination, or that's just something you learned on watching, you know, television, kids shows, or something along those lines. But when the child is emphatic about it, I think that's when you really have to open up your ears and open up your eyes and mind and just say, well, maybe there is something to this. Would you agree, Maureen?
I would agree, Dave, and I think that you hit it on the nail there in the sense that it's the tone, it's the level, it's how they're telling you this experience that makes it different, you know, than just made up in terms of the imagination. And maybe it is made up in the imagination. What difference does it make? Why do we always just prove that this is real? Why do we have to, you know, in other words, why can't it just be part of our imagination? Is that not okay?
Oh, exactly.
I'd say as an artist, our great artist, what do we say? I mean, is it real when you're looking at that painting? Was that really a landscape that they just painted? Or did they just paint the light and the color and the texture and you see what I'm saying?
Gloria in the SOR Space Travelers room on Facebook has a question. There's a lot of religious people out there who believe things like this is demonic. How would you describe that?
You know, I just don't go there. I just don't go to that place of the devil and the darkness and that whole black and white or salt and pepper or whatever that the extremes might be. They're always going to have extremes in society. You know, that's kind of how the world has unfolded, is different extremes. But I don't go there. I don't go to that side of the devil. I don't go to that side of the dark side. I think of this only as in the light, only as in that eternal love, that these heroes are with us always.
When you are seeing and hearing these stories, do people ever have experiences that are physical? Yes, you've mentioned touching, kissing, but are there any other clues, maybe besides pennies or something along those lines, like maybe ectoplasm that we get a lot of from paranormal investigators, what they look for, or maybe a piece of clothing or a key that went missing long ago? Do we have scenarios like that happen?
You know, I do have a surviving hero. He's actually in the British naval officer who did have an experience overseas, and he actually was in the desert, and he did have an actual manifestation. He was walking along the desert. He was feeling very sad that day, and he was thinking about his grandfather quite a bit. And all of a sudden, at his boot in the sand. In the middle of the sand was this Dutch key ring, and he picked it up, and it was a pair of Dutch shoes, the shoes from Holland, the little wooden shoes on this key ring. And he knew that this was a message from his grandfather because his grandfather had this bar in England that was full of Dutch shoes, these shoes from, Holland. And he thought, oh my gosh, he was standing in the desert, he was feeling bad, he was actually thinking of his grandfather when he found this Dutch keyring, in the middle of the desert. And it was, to him, a message from his, grandfather that his grandfather's with him and it's going to be okay. But if you went back to his home, the bar at his home was just filled with wall to wall of these Dutch shoes, the wooden shoes. Kind of interesting.
Oh, for sure. Because they always seem to put something out there that is just so obvious. Maybe a little too obvious for people at some times. I would love to know about the story of Vito and his daughter Ariel.
Yeah, that's a sweet story. And Vito is actually one of the surviving heroes. I need to get the book to Vito because he's here in this community and we haven't been able to connect. But Vito was stationed in Colombia, and he was working with the Reagan's Just Say No mission, and he was a Marine at that time. And, he would go in and nix one drug factory and there was another one close by. And, it was such a difficult time for him. And he really carries with him a lot of PTSD, this poor guy. But anyway, this experience happens to him when he comes back from his time serving in the Marines. And he had been estranged from his daughter. His daughter had a very strange disease, and there was a difficulty with the mom, and he had been estranged from his daughter for several years. Her name was Ariel. And he tried to connect with her several times when he came back, but he couldn't locate her, and he felt really sad about it, but it was just the way it was. But he still was in contact with his son. And it was actually on the November election day for Obama that he said he was sitting at his computer in his study, and he heard this female voice in the other room. And he just kind of sat there, and then he heard his son, who was alive and in the other room, in the other study. He said, "Dad, it's Ariel's voice. Can you hear that?" And the dad, Vito kind of looked around, and he opened the closets, and he looked under the beds, and he saw that there was nothing. But he also had heard that was Ariel's voice. He heard that voice, and he was kind of baffled. And it was just really strange to him. And then it was like a month later, he was working in his room, and his son was working in the other room as well, again. And this time he heard the voice clear as a whistle, and it was a female's voice of Ariel, and it was, "Dad, where are you?" And he goes, "Oh, my God." And the son shouted from the other room. He goes, "Dad, did you hear that?" And he goes, "Yes, I heard it." So they ran to the stairwell. They looked everywhere. It was her voice. But it wasn't Ariel. He had found out that Ariel had passed away, had a very strange disease, and this was her way of connecting with her dad. She wanted to say goodbye to her dad. She wanted to say hello to him, and he had been estranged from her for so many years. So it was truly a kind of sad experience, but it was also beautiful to him that he had that connection with her. He knew that was her voice, for his son confirmed that he heard the voice as well. So
that's a tough way to find. That's a tough way to find out your daughter has passed, though.
It was really tough for him. It was very, very tough for him. And having PTSD makes it even more difficult for him. But boy, he's moving through it now, and he's a great dad to his son that's here, and he has actually another daughter that he helps take care of, who's handicapped, and he's quite a loving dad. And he just said that he couldn't, make that connection with her before she died, but at least he knew that, "Dad, where are you?" He could say, I'm here for you, Ariel, I'm still here, I wrote this beautiful poem called "In Our Nights and in Our Days, They're With Us. They walk leading our path to familiar places. The words come and go. The faces appear and disappear, smiling and silent, speaking in our thoughts. They turn and go. And these golden threads connect us forever." And I really feel like Vito had that connection with his daughter, Ariel, which was quite beautiful. She had a real strange cancer called Ewig's cancer, and She died quite young. It affects the bones and the tissues in teenagers and young adults.
When you deal with these stories, are you mainly dealing with people who are veterans one way or another?
Yes, this particular book, Baby It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes, I decided to focus on the veterans, And then there was a few stories from 9/11 that came through, and I thought, those were heroes, too, that, experienced 9/11. And then I had 3 surviving stories that, these fellows wanted to share with me, so I included those as well. And the publisher was open to that as well. So, but this was a kind of a connection of, to me, the veterans that do so much for our world and, sacrifice their lives.
I would love...
So young, they're so young.
Maureen McGill is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She is the author of the book, Baby It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes. It's on Amazon right now. We've already had one of our listeners pick up the book in this program or during this program right now. I highly suggest you take the time to do so for yourself. I would love for you to share a 9/11 story, because that day for our generation is pretty much the Kennedy assassination, World War II for other people. And it still stings 15 years later in people's minds what had happened. I would love it.
Can you remember where you were on that day?
I totally can. I was working at a Vancouver news radio station. I had got the pleasure to sleep in that morning when my ex-wife woke me up at about 7:30 in the morning and said, "You have to come downstairs and see this." I immediately called our newsroom, and before I got into radio, I was a hockey instructor, and the favorite player that I had at that time that I had trained, he was actually taking part in day 1 of his first workout with the New York Rangers in the NHL. And immediately I got a phone call from my boss. He's like, "We need you in here." And I said, "I'm coming in," because it was all hands on deck trying to figure out what was going on. And it was very, very scary indeed. But as a journalist, you kind of put that professional facade on and you go to work. And that's exactly what happened to me on 9/11.
Yeah, I think all of us were around that day will always remember where they were at that particular day. But I have a beautiful story about this firefighter, Michael, and his mother, Nancy. The story is told by his mother, Nancy. And Nancy was the mother of this probie, Michael D'Auria. He was age 25. He was a rookie fireman. He was on the force for about 9 weeks when that fateful call went out to the engine 40, ladder 35. And Michael was on his way to his second ever fire, and he died on September 11th, 2001. And his mom said that he gave me this song on a tape a few years before he died, and he brought it over on her birthday, and he put it on the player, and he danced with me. And his body was discovered after several months. It took several months, in January 20, 2002. And then she said, "I have not had a visitation dream about Michael. I so wish for one." She said, "I did have some unusual connections with him after that fateful day." Michael had moved back home, and he was living on Staten Island with me for a year before 9/11, she says. And several months after Michael's body was found, my husband and I took a trip to Florida. And while we were driving south, she said, "I sensed a distinct fragrance of a man's cologne. And it was a sharp kind of oriental and woody fragrance that has notes of kind of a mint and coffee and a caramel and a lavender kind of scent fragrance." And she immediately knew that this was the smell of this angel cologne in the car. And it was a cologne that Michael would wear when he was alive. He wore it when he was alive, And interesting enough that the name of the cologne was called Angel, So she was sure that was him in the car, and she kind of made note of, knew that he was with her, and that was kind of a sign to her. Another sign, she said, came to his sister, Christina, and it was several months before September 11th. And Christina said, Michael made a statement to her, and said, I know I'm going to die. I'm going to die in a very big way, and I know I'm going to die, and it's going to change the world. And Christina kind of looked at him like, what are you talking about, But unfortunately, he did, die in a very strange and sad day, sad moment there in 9/11. But Michael began painting, and during the last year of his life, something he never tried before, he loved to paint, and he discovered this talent that amazing people who saw his paintings, and he had these beautiful visions in his paintings, and angels and protectors in the painting, and there was distress in the painting, but they were quite dramatic, and I think she feels like maybe there was a premonition that he really truly had about his own death. But a friend of Michael's had confided in him that he wanted to be cremated, so they had his remains cremated, and they had buried in this crypt at this cemetery in Staten Island. And one of Michael's hobbies was cooking. He loved to cook. He attended a culinary school, and he just loved to cook. It was a passion. And his sister went to visit Michael a short time after his interment, and she could smell cookies when she got to the crypt. And there's no bakeries, there's no establishments near this cemetery, but the smell was totally distinct that she could smell these freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. And Michael just loved to bake cookies. So she thought that this was a pure signal that he was connecting with Christine, and she had no doubt that, it was from Michael. And I guess Christine's children were at the house a few years. It was after Michael's death, and they were about 2.5 years old. And they had not ever met Uncle Michael. They were born after his passing. And Vanessa, the older one, was playing hide and seek in the grandma's living room. Christina asked them what they were doing, and Vanessa said, we're playing hide and seek with Uncle Michael. So again, there's an experience with children they had forgotten about, where they saw their uncle on the other side, and they had never met their uncle.
Wow.
So Christina kept a sign in her kitchen that was filled with the words we were told Michael said before he died, live, love, and laugh. And when Vanessa was just a toddler, she would point to the sign. She was very little, and she would put her arms around someone, and she would follow this around the room. And when Christina asked, what are you doing? And she'd say, it's Uncle Michael. He's following me. He's following me. So it's really quite sweet that, those experiences happen, and affirming for that Proby's mother and for his sister that they both had these simple signs from Michael, after he died.
Beautiful story. Very beautiful story indeed. We are talking with Maureen McGill tonight on Spaced Out Radio. She is a very talented author with a very talented subject. Baby, It's You. Messages from Deceased Heroes is her book. It can be found on Amazon right now. We are going to take our break at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, more questions and more stories from the very talented author, Maureen McGill. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Talk to you on the other side.
Have you ever had an extraterrestrial experience? One you just couldn't explain? Well, maybe I can help. Hello, I am Samantha Mullet. On the second Tuesday of each month, I will join Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio to bring a human aspect to ET contact. It's something I've lived with my entire life, and I'd love to help you understand. Let's share our experiences. The ET Experience, the second Tuesday of each month, only on Spaced Out Radio.
Fairies? Bigfoot? Dogmen? Trolls? Goblins? Hey, if it's cryptid in any way, I'm looking into it. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, also known as Spaced Out Radio's Crypto Guru. Join me every second Wednesday of the month on Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott, where we will talk about the stories people call tall tales. I will fill you in on the latest sightings and the hidden histories that are causing quite a stir. You can find everything at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is Jolene with Rivulet Reiki and Readings, and I want you to relax. Let me help you chill out and get in touch with your body, mind, and soul. In this busy world, sometimes we need to let go, and this is where I can help. Visit my website, rivuletrndr.wix.com/rivuletrndr, or my Facebook page, Rivulet R&R, to set up an appointment for relaxation, Reiki, or readings. No matter where you are, it's time for you to make time for you.
Would you like to expand your clientele? Have you ever thought of online radio advertising? Check out spacedoutradio.com to get your name out there. Our listeners support those who advertise with us. So why not give it a try? We have the most competitive advertising prices out there. Just click on the advertising tab on spacedoutradio.com and contact us today.
Are you an ET experiencer, but you just don't know what's going on? Are you too timid or shy to discuss it with anyone? Maybe I can help. Join me, R. Keith Andrews, the first Friday of every month on Spaced Out Radio, and I will help you to find the answers you're looking for. Together, I will help you understand the off-worlders and the true meanings behind your experiences. All you have to do is join us in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. See you there.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness. You can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us. So sit down, relax, put your feet up. Enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Hi there, this is your psychic medium Joanna, and I would love it if you would join us every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. With host James Tyson, we'll bring you personal psychic messages on two mediums and a large. Questions about love, life, career changes. We would love it if you would come and join us live. Call in and listen in for the experience. Allow us to open the doors to your other side. Two mediums and a large, heard only on Spaced Out Weekend at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
Do you have a topic or a guest that you'd like to hear on Spaced Out Radio? Let us know at spacedoutradio.com, where you can sign up to become a Space Traveler member today. Or you can find us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on our Facebook page, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I don't want to take a thing from you, I just want to feel like something real with you.
Welcome back to the second section of Space Out Radio. We're halfway done tonight on the mighty SOR tonight. Thank you so much for joining in. If you are in the Space Out Radio chat room here on Spreaker, SOR Space Travelers on Facebook, or you're listening in on Paranormal Forum, as well as SHR Media, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Absolute pleasure to be with all of you tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We are going to take calls momentarily, and we do have a caller coming in. I do want to remind you that you can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can follow us on Instagram at Dave Scott, SOR. You can also follow us on YouTube. I apologize. YouTube. Our archives are on Spaced Out Radio Show's channel there. Subscribe to that. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with author Maureen McGill. Her latest book just came out. When was that? November, Maureen? November? December? Oh, beautiful. It is called Baby It's You, Messages from the Deceased Heroes. Messages from Deceased Heroes. You can find it on Amazon. Maureen, we have a phone call right off the bat here who wants to be a part and maybe get a tarot card reading from you as well. Caller, are you there? Hello? Maybe they're
Hello?
not. There you are. Who's this?
I didn't even hear you unmute me. I'm sorry. It's Corrine.
Hi, Corrine. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
I am great. And this is Maureen on the other side of this phone call. Maureen. Corrine is one of the most talented poets I have ever read, so you two would get along just great.
Oh, Corrine, thank you for calling in tonight. How can I serve you with my cards tonight? I'd love to serve you with my cards.
Thank you, Maureen. And I have to tell you, I love hearing your stories. I love what you've done. I think it's phenomenal. It's very needed. So thank you so much for that. Okay,
you're welcome.
So I'm going to sound really stupid right now, Maureen, because I'm older than I'm an older gal, and I am still in love with my old boyfriend, and I still talk to him. And can you tell me what might be going on there? I mean, I'm not sure where the hell we're at.
Okay, I just shuffled the cards, and now, Karina, I'm putting them in 3 piles, and I'd like you to choose a pile, 1, 2, or 3.
3.
So the first card out is Ace of Swords. You know, you got to cut away some things that haven't worked about this relationship or that just aren't right. So there's some shifting that's going on. There's one person here that's kind of walking to a new way. And by walking to a new way, it will help to cut away those things that no longer worked. And there is a kind of coming together because of that. In the past, it was the Hangman. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure where this is at. The first outcome is 4 of Pentacles. Somebody is holding back, or they need to kind of be conservative about money, or just conservative about emotions sometimes. The next outcome is Ace of Wands. There could be some new beginnings, new hopes. But in your fears, you're worrying about it's either a studious messenger of hope about money, or there's been financial issues, or there's something there that maybe is quite not right. And what's coming is a possible offer. There could be another woman around this, so you would have to be careful about what it is, you know, what your priorities are in this connection that you have. There's a change in this relationship from the past. There's further discussions that you guys are going to do together, and there's like a patience that you're going to need. There is something from the past that would have to be reworked, and it's like, could trust be a part of this relationship again? Or do you have to establish that trust thing again in order for it to move forward? And if there were any addictions around this relationship, that would have to be kind of settled through in order for it to move forward. If it is an addiction, it's simply one person kind of takes on a lot in that relationship. Right. So I would say that there's further discussion that needs to take place regarding it. There is one person who's holding back, and it could be financially and or emotionally. And there could be somebody else around us. So a trust would have to be developed in order for the relationship to move ahead. So that's what I get, girl.
Okay, so Maureen, what was the last thing you said about another person? I didn't hear that.
So it's possible that there could be another person involved in one of either you or with him with that relationship. There could be another person involved. So you would have to establish the trust again to know that the trust in the relationship was there.
Right. Okay. All right. Very good, Maureen. Thank you so much. Because all that totally makes sense to me.
All right. Corrine, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you, Dave.
All right. Take care.
Good night now.
All right. Area code 530. Who are we speaking with?
Hi, this is Claudia.
Hi, Claudia.
Hi. Yeah, I was just hoping for a reading tonight. My sister passed last week, and we were really, really close. And it just seems like, yeah, but it does seem like all of this. There's something. There's something to this. I don't know. It's just life changing for me, and so I was just hoping you can do a reading on that.
Yeah, it's so close, just a week ago. It's so, that sense of loss, it's like you haven't even been able to process it yet. But you know that your sister will be there, and you know that you'll get messages from her as time unfolds. And sometimes it takes a while to get that message, Sometimes that veil is kind of thick. But I put the cards in 3 piles. I'm just going to say, is there a message now that might help you to know that, you're going to be able to move forward in this with her? So 1, 2, or 3?
3.
So I don't know if Dad is around your sister as well, but there's some connection with Dad here. There's a connection, or it could be your grandpa as well. And there is the Loving Sisters. The card came out for the Loving Sisters. 6 of Cups and sweetness being exchanged. Oh, my gosh. What are the chances for that card to come out?
Yes,
And the other card that came out is the 9 of Pentacles. She stands in the garden with her beauty and grace and resources. And sometimes the message could come in the garden, or it could come with the bird in hand. So she says to you, I'm standing in that garden now, and I'm offering sweetness to you. And then the first outcome is you're going to be changing some things in your life because of this experience of losing her. And maybe some things that no longer work in your life, you're going to be able to walk away from that will give more peace in your own heart, you know. And she says, you know, don't worry about things, you know. You maybe have been struggling with work or struggling with decisions that you've had to make because of some financial things, but she says, you know, just go with the flow, be in that happy spirit. She stands with you as a friend.
Oh, I swear, it's just, you're right on the money with everything, really. Thank you for the reading. I appreciate it.
My heart goes to you, and that know that love never dies, you know.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for calling in, Claudia.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye. That was wonderful. That was a very positive, enlightening message. Both of them.
You know, it's just that the cards are just a tool for the information and how it comes through, you know. It's amazing how symbols can bring so much peace in our life if we just work with a symbol.
Oh, for sure. For sure. 1-702-302-4556 is the call-in number if you would like a tarot card reading from author Maureen McGill. She loves giving them, and so far we're 2 for 2 on things going right in the reading so far. Would love to get somebody else to call in. I wanted to ask you, previous to the break, you had mentioned the story about the young firefighter who passed away in 9/11. And much like the little girl who said, Daddy, you're going to die, basically, over in Iraq, when it comes to premonitions, do a lot of these people have these premonitions that bad things are going to happen?
You know, I don't know if there's a statistic on that, Dave, where they have that premonition. Maybe people have it, but they don't talk about it, or they sense it and they don't talk about it, or, you know, maybe you wake up one morning and you kind of have a sense that maybe we're going to get a little shake today, you know, a little earthquake or whatever it might be. Sometimes you just have to tune into that awareness. Sometimes you look at the patterns of the animals around, like, you know, with the earthquakes that happen, if the animal patterns are changing, that, you know, you can become aware of it. So, you know, it's the same thing with a premonition. I wouldn't say that everybody in this book had a premonition that they weren't coming back. I don't think so, you know. I think that there were a lot of young couples that had just fallen in love and had just been married and really didn't think that this was going to happen to them. There was even a terrible tragedy in Fort Hood where a soldier was just, you know, shot down by a psychiatrist several years ago. And, you know, and he just was there getting a shot, you know, at the base. It was not like he was fighting for the country at that moment. So, you know, life just, you know, can change in a split second, you know. Here today and gone tomorrow, so.
1-702-302-4556 is the phone number. Maureen, we have a caller from area code 262. How are you tonight? Who are we speaking with? Hello? Area code 262? Are you there? I know you're hooked up because I see you right there. We'll try them later. Premonitions, in regards to it, it's amazing how people react to them. And do you think people take them a little bit too seriously in trying to find out, almost like hindsight being 20/20 for a lot of these people? When they look back and say, oh yeah, I should have recognized this sign, I should have recognized that sign. Or is it all a part of just letting go?
I don't know. I wish if I had the answer, I feel like I'd be a genius. But I do think that there's a sense of letting go. There's a sense of trusting. There's a sense of knowingness that we have to come to. And there's also a sense of not being in a fear-based place,
Right.
And sometimes some of this can kind of be an addiction to the fear-based, oh, this is going to happen, and this is doomsday, and the market's going to drop, and if you don't get your money now and buy gold, it's like, if you put yourself in that fear-based, I don't think anything's ever going to work out, But maybe there's some knowingness that we just know that when we're driving along the street and we're going to turn right instead of left, and it's a darn good thing that we turned right, because if we turned left, something would have happened there at the corner, So
exactly.
It's just, that knowingness.
Maureen, we have a caller here, area code 402. Are you there with us, caller?
Yes, hi, Dave. It's Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. How are you today?
Good.
I'm good.
Oh.
1 second here. Sorry, go ahead, Sharon.
No, that's okay. I heard your puppy. I think that was your dog, wasn't it? Or
Oh, it was a dog. It was roaming around here. You never know what happens around the Space Out Radio studios.
Hope it wasn't a coyote.
No.
Well, I was hoping maybe you could do a reading for me.
Sharon, I would love to do a reading for you. It helps me to have a question. It could be about love or money or work or family or career.
Well, let's go for love.
So when you say let's go for love, you want to know, Maureen, is my king coming soon? Or Maureen, the love that I'm with, is it going to last forever? What would be your question?
Is he coming back?
Okay. So, Sharon, I'll put them in 3 piles, 1, 2, or 3, and I'd like you to choose a pile.
3.
3 seems to be the number tonight. So there's been loss, L-O-S-S, around this sadness. And there's one person that's kind of moved forward or moving on. And it's simply around the lovers or choices that were made. In the past, you kind of listened to your intuition about this. You had signals or whatever. Is he ever going to come back? Well, the first outcome says Knight of Swords. That could be possibly pushing forward. And the Judgment, like maybe it's kind of out of your hands. I would say if you had a faith factor, that would be in God's hands, or it would be out of your hands. In your fears, you just have to get out there in the world now. You can't kind of wait. You can't kind of allow yourself to stop in fear. There is fear that stands next to this relationship. And there was something here that wasn't either totally trustworthy, or that person couldn't step up in the way that they needed him to step up. They might have had some issues, financial issues perhaps, or there just might have been some issues that they just, at this time in their lives, they couldn't step up in the way that you need that person to step up. There's change coming for you. I believe that there would be a partnership if you were open to that. And whether it's this fellow that's from the past, I can't read that totally. I think that there's change. I think that the qualities, the good qualities that this person had would come forward, but I don't know if that particular person could then, actually come forward, but if it's somebody else who has similar qualities. I see a country gentleman, kind of animals, children, and a good-natured guy coming in your future. Whether he's that type in the past, I don't know.
I'm having a hard time hearing you. It's kind
of
muffled.
I'm sorry.
I don't.
Okay.
It's maybe you're.
So I can repeat it. Is this better?
Yes.
Is this better now?
Thank you.
Okay,
well,
so there's loss around you. And,
one at a time.
Pardon?
No, go ahead. Sometimes I think maybe your mouth was too close to the mic. I don't know. It was kind of muffled.
Okay, sorry about that. So there's some loss that you feel about moving forward here, but it's simply the lovers, which are choices. And in the past, you really listened to your intuition, hoping that this would come forward again. And there's this part that wants to push forward, that this wants to come back from the past, but there's some fear that stops it from coming forward. And there's also a fear about this person couldn't really step up because of situation in their life. There was something that wasn't right. They just couldn't step up in the way that you want them to step up. But I do feel with patience, with talking things through, that there is a king coming to your life. He's the king of wands. He's a country gentleman, kind of animals, children. He's a good-natured guy. He's coming down the road. But it's almost as if you have to step through your work first. You don't want somebody to come back who can't step up for you. And whether it's this man, I can't tell you if it's this man or not, but I can tell you that he has good qualities when he comes. And he may have the good qualities that you saw in this man and more. But you got to step through the fear.
Yeah, the fear was on my part, big time, and I kind of pulled away.
So how do you step through that? You have patience. To me, you meditate, you pray. If you have a faith factor, you work through it with a counselor that can help you to move forward so you can step ahead. There's things that you can do to help you to move forward so you don't latch on to the illusion of what you think it is, yeah?
Right.
And you will do it, girl. You will do it. You will step ahead once you make that choice.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah, just had a lot of stuff going on, so thank you.
A lot of difficulties, but yeah. Just have patience. Know that the helpers are with you here and on the other side to help you step ahead.
Awesome.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sharon, thank you so much for calling in. You know we love it when you do.
Oh, thanks, Dave. All right. Take care.
Take care.
Good night now.
Sharon is one of our longest listeners that we've had since we started out Spaced Out Radio. She is just a true...
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah, she's a gem of a soul. We absolutely love her around here. When you're reading your tarot cards, are you projecting or saying an image that is coming to you or words that are coming to you from the card, or are you actually reading the card itself? Because a lot of tarot cards have words on them.
No, these cards that I have in front of me are pictures, and I've studied the representative of the picture. They do have a title under the card, but it's mostly the picture that brings in forth the image and the words. I really can't analyze it.
Right.
I try to analyze it, but I can't.
All right, somebody's got their sound up in the background a little bit too much. I'll get you to turn down your speakers. We got two callers on here from Elizabeth and Glenn. What I will do is I'll get you to speak with Elizabeth right now, if you don't mind.
Hey. Good evening.
Glenn, I just need you to keep quiet for just a couple of minutes here, bud. Elizabeth, you're up with Maureen.
Hey, so I hope this is not mine because I'm on my Yeti, but it is feedbacking. Hold on a second. How's that? Is that better, worse? There, let's try that. That better?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a question about love. I have a question about business. I'm trying to open my gallery, and I can't get the fire inspector to sign off on my business license or even talk to me or even come visit and look at the place. So I'm wondering when I'm going to get to open, if I get to open, because now I'm in a cash flow crunch because I bought stock and I'm sitting on it, watching it sit here.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, or 3?
1.
Pardon?
Who's
Glenn,
getting the reading?
Glenn, I need you to hold on. This is Elizabeth's reading right now.
All right.
Hold on. Yeah, now I'm confused. Hold on. 3.
So 3. Okay, so Elizabeth, I'm asking about if the fire chief is going to sign off on your building. Pardon?
I didn't say anything.
There's fear around it. There's upset around it. And it's like up and down on your emotions around it is what they're telling me. There's going to be a meeting about the building coming up soon. There's going to be a choice that's going to be able to be made. And your fears, you're worrying about money, of course, next to the building. It says within 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, I believe you're going to get a settlement with them. And your final outcome, girl, is coming home to success. So there will be a sign-off, and it'll be a happy ending. That's what the cards say. But it does happen, it says within 2 days, perhaps, 2 weeks, 2 months. I hope it's not any more than that, maybe 2 minutes.
2 days or 2 weeks? 2 days would be best. 2 days, this week would be good. 2 weeks, in 2 months I'd be sunk, I think. But okay, so...
but the outcome, the final card for the outcome is coming home to success. To me, that is a breakthrough.
Okay, good. Good to know. All right, I'll stop worrying so much and just move energy.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
And thank you, Maureen.
I hope so. Keep my fingers crossed.
All right. So we're going to bring in Glenn now. And Glenn, you have a question that you would like a reading from Maureen?
Yeah, Maureen. My birth date is March 13th, 1965. I will pick number 1 as my column.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm having trouble hearing.
Glenn would like pile number 1, and his birth date is March 13th, 19...
But what is his question?
What's your question, Glenn?
What is my future as far as career?
What's his future career?
All righty. And you want pile number 1, did you say?
Yes.
Yes.
It's like you're a very creative guy, and you're visualizing it or seeing it, and it says unleash your creative energies. It's almost something that you carried with you from childhood, is to really work with your creative skills at this time. In the recent past, you had to walk to kind of a new way of being. You've got some new beginnings coming up. You've got some possibilities to make some money. In your fears, you struggle with that ability to make some money. There's decisions you have to make. You kind of sometimes just go with the flow. But there is an offer coming to you. And in terms of what the career is, I'm not sure. It's something about you putting an end to an old way of being, like finishing up an old way of being, like you're done, you're finished, and you're attacking your creative side to really make this happen. You're a very creative individual, and that's all I can get from it here, buddy.
Thank you. You're pretty much bang on.
All right. That's excellent. Glenn, thank you so much for calling in.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. And Maureen, I want to thank you for being on Spaced Out Radio.
Dave, I want to thank you so much for honoring Baby It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes, and for the work that you do on your show, and for bringing spirit to all of these wonderful people, and honoring and valuing the heroes that are with us in this world.
Absolutely. And once again, people can find your book on Amazon.com. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the phone and be interviewed with us tonight, Maureen. It's an absolute pleasure, and I hope to do it again.
And if people would like to contact me for a reading, they can contact me at messagesfromheroes@gmail.com. Messagesfromheroes@gmail.com. Thanks so much, Dave.
Appreciate that, Maureen. And on that note, we are going to skip out for our commercial break at the top of the hour. When we come back, more open lines, more stories from you. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. We'll be right back.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Every month on Spaced Out Radio, we look into the deep and dark reports of cryptids roaming around the world with me, Rob Morphy from Cryptopia.us. I would love it if you would join me and host Dave Scott as we delve into the most arcane stories and reports regarding creatures of the unknown. My job is to hunt down the details and bring the evidence forward to you. These aren't your regular Bigfoot stories I'm talking about either. You can find out more about crypto history at spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Is the 24-hour world starting to wear you down? Let me from Rivulet Reiki and Readings lend you a hand. Hi, this is Jolene, and if you're in need of Reiki or a realm reading, come to my website, rivuletrr.wix.com/rivuletrr&r, and let us help you out. At Rivulet, I specialize in healing your body, mind, and soul, no matter where you are. And be sure to check out the Rivulet R&R Facebook page for your best deals. Remember, it's time for you to make some time for you.
Find yourself constantly looking up in the sky, looking for answers? Have you had extraterrestrial contact? Are you an abductee? Looking for answers to your experiences? Hi there, I'm R. Keith Andrews, Spaced Out Radio's resident ET expert. Join me live the first Friday of every month where I take questions from the Spaced Out Radio chat room and help you understand those from the far-off world. It's 2 hours of knowledge every experiencer should listen to. Hope to see you there.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Would you like to connect with us on Spaced Out Radio? Head to spacedoutradio.com to check out the latest shows, guests, and sponsors. And don't forget to sign up for the Space Travelers Club. You'll find all you need at spacedoutradio.com. Welcome back to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Always a pleasure to be with you on this show each and every night, Monday through Friday. Uncle Jimbo James Tyson is in the cabin Saturdays and Sundays. Tomorrow night on the show, we will be talking Bigfoot. We're going to talk about the lighter side of Bigfoot. Not jokingly, but what we are talking about is Bigfoot really a nasty creature? Is it really violent? Is it a creature that we should be fearing? Edie Kaito will be back with us. She'll be joined with Colorado researcher Mike Johnson. We're going to bring both of them on because Edie's in Indiana, Mike's in Colorado, yet they both talk of Bigfoot as being a very trustworthy creature. As weird as that may sound, we're going to get into that tomorrow night on the mighty SOR. Now, I do want to remind you that if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio on Twitter. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where we hide all of our archives, is Spaced Out Radio Show. Just give a subscribe, click on that. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, we're opening up the lines for the final hour here. Would love your participation at 1-702-302-4556. We're going to stay in the paranormal/premonition field because our guest previous to this, Maureen McGill, was just doing a few tarot card readings. Before that, we were talking about her book, Baby, It's You. And these are about real heroes from the deceased. Messages from Deceased Heroes is the actual title. And when it comes to premonitions, it's weird how they just happen. I have two that are very, very familiar with me. And I think we all have to take the time to listen to that little voice that talks to us, that has our best interests at heart. I remember in 2013, I was about to go ATVing with a couple of buddies of mine who I don't normally ride with. And the entire hour's drive to get there, to where we were going to be riding that day, I was having this little cognitive voice in my head saying, turn around, it's not a good day to ride. Turn around, go home. And I was like, the sun is shining, it's warm out, I haven't ridden in a few weeks, I want to get out and go for a ride. Now, I was going with people I normally don't ride with. But this little voice would not let me go. Turn around, do not ride today. I went anyways. And literally 20 minutes into the ride, we're climbing up this hill, a nice wide path on the side of a mountain. And we come to this washout. And the washout is simple. I've been through washouts many times before and rode over them. And I was the first bike to follow through. And I was the first of the three bikes to walk through and go through this washout. Literally at 5 miles an hour, I slowly start my climb up to go into the washout and then up the other side. This is only about 8-10 feet wide, very small. And I come across this rock that I have to go, because I have to go high on the left side as I'm climbing up the mountain. And my front tire hits this rock, and my wheel spins, and my wheels turn. And as I'm trying to correct it, my thumb hits the gas pedal. I go into the deep part of the washout. My bike starts to come over. I bail off my bike. My bike rolls over top of me, and I was underneath in this V. So I was safe. But after it rolled over top of me, it rolled down a hill about 150 feet. And I watched it tumble and turn and crash over rocks and trees and branches and stumps. Absolutely destroyed my ATV. It was heartbreaking watching this thing go, because I'd always wanted an ATV. I didn't ride like an idiot. And 5 miles an hour, I blew out my ATV, and I watched it. It took us a couple hours to get the bike up the mountain, and then we had to drag it on down, which took about another hour. and my day was done. All because I didn't listen to that little voice. Premonition. That's kind of the way it goes. It's scary if you don't listen to that voice. And I can tell you another story of mine. And I want to hear yours at 1-702-302-4556 is the call-in number. The other one I had was right before Mrs. Spaced Out Radio and I decided to move north. About 2 months before we sold our house, because we live near Vancouver, I was hanging out. I was in a very stressful position. My daytime career can be very stressful at times. And the new attitude around my daytime career was push, 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 push. Because when you work in financing, that's kind of what happens. And I had this premonition as I was becoming more and more stressed, more and more shaky. And I had this premonition that literally, if I stayed at this place of work for another couple of years, I was going to drop dead of a heart attack. And I remember telling Mrs. Spaced Out Radio about that. And she says, you got to quit that job. Let's get out of here. So that's when we decided to move north. After listening to that little voice after my ATV accident, which I wasn't hurt, I literally ended up listening to that voice. And that's what made me move north into the sticks, into the boonies. So it's very interesting indeed how these little precognitive voices can really, really control things. Because if you don't pay attention to them, some bad stuff can happen. It's very, very interesting indeed. Very interesting. So, I want to hear yours. Have you ever had a premonition? Here's a story from Corey that she typed out in the Spaced Out Radio chat room. When we were young and stupid while camping, we used to drink all night, then get into a buddy's 4x4 and drive fast down gravel roads. One night when we were driving down this old logging tree road, I had this thought that if the sky opened up in front of us, we needed to stop quickly because there was a cliff. I freaked out for a few minutes, then told the driver that. A minute later, the sky opened up in front of us in the trees. The driver slammed on his brakes, and we were on the edge of a cliff. We never did that again. That is scary. And it makes you wonder who is actually telling you that. Is it a loved one from the other side? Is it your spirit guides? Is it God himself? Is it the angel of death who's telling you maybe it's not time to go? Thank you for sharing that, Corey. It's very interesting indeed when you get these paranormal experiences that are personally inside of you. And you sit there and you sit back because it is very much I hate to say a tragedy, but it's almost like it's a tragedy in waiting. A tragedy in waiting where if you don't listen to that little voice, you know what's going to happen. And by some of the stories that Maureen McGill told us tonight in regards to how that one soldier's young daughter, 2-year-old daughter, when she watched The Lion King, and there was the attack on the lion, where the lion was killed, how all of a sudden she said, "That's going to happen to you, Daddy. That's you, Daddy." And of course, the soldier was killed in Iraq on an ambush, much the same. That's scary when that happens. Or, as she said about the 9/11 first responder, the young firefighter who was 25 years old, only the second fire he had ever battled. But he felt that something big was going to happen, that he may die in an event that will always be talked about. Premonitions are interesting. Now, from people who I have talked to, who are much more spiritually connected than I am, that voice comes from the soul. And the one thing that I learned about this was that with the soul is the only thing we have here that is still connected to Source, to God, to the higher power, whatever you believe in. It's not your heart, it's not your brain, it's your soul. And when your soul speaks, it's never going to steer you wrong, because that little voice that comes from your soul is there for you. It's your spiritual connection. Now, some of us have learned not to listen to that. We call it imagination. We call it whatever you want to call it. Some people have just tuned it out because maybe they're agnostic, atheist, or just simply too religious not to believe in that little voice. Gloria is asking, is it us from the future whispering back at us? It could very well be. It could very well be. Some people, like Eric said, will be accused of schizophrenia or something along those lines because they listen to that voice in your head. But here's the thing. It's not the voice in your head that you need to listen to. It's the voice that comes from your soul that guides you. It's that voice that keeps you on the straight and narrow. Because your soul voice is never going to tell you to hurt someone or yourself, is never going to put another character in your head. Your soul is to take care of you. At least that's my belief in all of this, of where that little voice comes from. Now, we always see those messages and those memes or these pieces of writing that people post on social media. Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. You ever notice that usually that leads to heartbreak, heartache, agony? But when you listen to your soul, things seem to go your way. It may not always be perfect. It may not be the way that you want. But it's the only tried and true voice that we have that actually will keep you straight through. That'll keep you on the straight and narrow. Now, I do believe there is a difference between what psychics are seeing and hearing, depending if they're clairvoyant or clairaudient. Even people who are having extraterrestrial contact. I do believe that it is different. But when it comes to you and your own direction, I think that the soul is something that you have to listen to, because it'll never steer you wrong. The soul's never going to say to you, hey, you should punch that person in the face, or hey, you should kill yourself, because the soul wants to see you live. If you hear a cat in the background, The cat is back, just so you know. He snuck into the studio here while I was on the commercial break, and I stepped out for a quick minute. He always hides before I close the door. And then as soon as I turn the microphone on, he's like starting to meow. He's a loud cat. He's a talker. Not a fan of the meow. I can't even see him from where I am. A couple people listening in have met the cat, Corey and Glenn. They've met the cat. He's a good cat. But sneaking into the studio during a show doesn't make for good radio, I can tell you that. That's okay. 1-702-302-4556 if you have any premonitions or paranormal stories to call in and tell us about. Love to hear them tonight on the Mighty SOR as we open up the phone lines to you. What is your weirdest paranormal experience? One of mine is probably very odd. At least to me it is. It may not be to you. When my ex-wife and I, when we were living in our town, we're still renting, trying to save up to buy a house, so we lived in a duplex. We had our side. Our best friends lived on the other side, so it was kind of nice. Helped with babysitting, helped with barbecues, washing cars, Christmas lights, whatever it was. We did everything together. And when my daughter was young, instead of my ex-wife calling me up on the phone that she needed help, if she was sitting on our couch nursing our daughter or just cuddling her because she was sleeping, she'd just put a little slight tap, like a knock, knock, knock on the wall. So one day, she knocks. And I run over. I was playing a game of crib with my buddy and having a beer. And she knocks. So I knock back. Then she knocks back. So I go over to my side of the duplex. I said, "Did you need something?" And she's like, "Well, you knocked first. What do you need?" And I said, No, I did not knock first. I said, I only knocked back to respond to you to say I was coming on over. Started with a little knocking on the walls. Eric and Claudia are wondering if I'm doing readings tonight. No, I am not, but I do want to hear your premonition and or paranormal stories that are personal to you. 702-302-4556 if you want to tell me one of your stories, because I would love to hear it. So, getting back to my story here. It started out to be very, very interesting in regards to the action that kept on happening. From wood knocking on the walls to all of a sudden, I remember one time my daughter was in the tub and I was downstairs and I heard a woman's voice. Not a child's voice, a woman's voice. And I called upstairs and I said, "Do you need something?" And they're like, "We didn't call you." Well, I just heard a woman's voice. So now I have to go investigate upstairs. And of course, there's nothing there. And this went on and on until I saw the little girl. Now, Derek White Sky Cloud, who is a medium, who's been on this show a number of times, had a reading with him. And I said, what is going on my side of the duplex? Because my friend's side wasn't haunted at all. Nothing was happening over there. It was just my side. And after a number of paranormal experiences, from tapping on the glass to all of our teaspoons going missing, to all of our drinking cups going missing, to my daughter in her room, we had this rule where we tidied up her room before bed, and then in the morning it was playtime with toys again. And what happened was, almost every morning we'd wake up and her room would be a disaster. Just like, you know how kids tear apart and put toys everywhere? And it'd be like, we just cleaned this up the night before. How does it get like this so fast? It wasn't until one night when the kids weren't home where the ex and I were sitting there watching a movie on television. And in my daughter's bedroom, it was a very squeaky door. And this one time, actually it happened more than once. You have to realize our dog is downstairs with us. We had 2 cats. They were downstairs with us. Nobody else is home except me and ex-SOR. And we heard the door to my daughter's room squeak open. And just as that door opened up, there was the sound of pitter-patter of little feet running down the hall. And that ran right into the master bedroom. And as we were saving up for our house, one of the things we sacrificed was getting a good bed. So our bed was very squeaky. And when the little patter of little feet got into the master bedroom, all of a sudden you would hear our bed start to squeak like a child, how they use a mattress for a trampoline. And it would be going, ee, 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 ee. Or if you're a little perverse, something else happening. But that wasn't the case. Yet nothing happened on the other side. We're going to hop out for our final break of the night here on Spaced Out Radio. When we come back, your phone calls, your paranormal stories, your premonitions, right after this. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Talk to you on the other side.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio?
Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us.
From the radio, commercials, to banners, to social media.
Have a product you'd like our host to endorse? We can do that too.
Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry.
Right here, this is where we divulge the fruit of our research. Here on the Webster Phenomena every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern on Spaced Out Radio.
Attention Spaced Out Radio listeners. For only $5 a month, you can join Spaced Out Radio Space Travelers. Your membership at spacedoutradio.com will give you access to private fan area on the website, get you a monthly newsletter, draws for monthly swag, and a whole lot more. Sign up today to become a part of the Spaced Out Radio experience.
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy. And I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Greetings and salutations, space travelers, from the Chronicles of the Unknown team.
What is Chronicles of the Unknown? I keep hearing about this thing.
It's a new paranormal reality TV show based right here in beautiful British Columbia, Canada. Follow our team as we uncover claims of activity on the Caribou Gold Rush Trail. You can also follow us here every third Monday, where 2 members of our team will be available to answer your questions. We'll give you some equipment updates and some of our experiences on the road, right here on Spaced Out Radio.
The last Monday of the month on Spaced Out Radio is a night of psychic vision, mediumship, UFO and ET contact, Bigfoot stories, animal communication, and so much more with me, Elizabeth Anglin. I'd love it if you would join host Dave Scott and I on the myriad of topics we delve into. Every month, we share new views that may help you understand your own experiences. So tune on in at spacedoutradio.com and stamp your cosmic passport.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
Missed most of tonight's show? Don't worry, you didn't miss a thing. You can head to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and download our archives for free. And don't forget to get your Space Travelers membership today. Now, back to tonight's show. Welcome back to the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much if you were tuning in on the SHR Media Network, in the Spaced Out Radio chat room, Paranormal Forum, or the SOR Space Travelers room, which is a packed house as well. Thank you so much for being with us on tonight's show. Really appreciate it. We're opening up the phone lines or the chat rooms to you and your stories about premonitions and the paranormal. Now, our friend Radio 702 Rocks from Las Vegas has this story. On his 21st birthday, he went out to celebrate that night at a club in L.A. After getting wasted and not thinking soundly enough not to not drive, he still did, and learned a life's lesson. Grateful that your voice talking about him told him to put his seatbelt on. Now, after driving on the freeway for about 20 minutes, he passed out, driving at 60 miles an hour. Thank God no one was hurt, no other vehicles, and no passenger. He knew he was in trouble when he woke up driving off the shoulder, still at a high rate of speed. He still sees the concrete wall straight ahead for impact, and again the voice told him to go with the impact. That is insane. That is scary, scary stuff. If you want to call in 702, you do so. We'll talk about that story. Corey is saying, when her son was about 2, he used to terrorize the cat. The cat never did anything mean back to him, ever. However, under the kitchen table, he saw him pull the cat's tail, and he said to the cat, Stinky, if Tyler is being mean to you, you could scratch him. The cat turned around and scratched him. The cat knew exactly what she had said. Very, very interesting stuff indeed. Makes you wonder how much can actually be heard or known by other animals, how much our communication actually works. It's kind of freaky, to say the least. 1-702-302-4556 is the phone number. We'd love to hear your story. Radio 702, I know you're listening in. If you want to call in, I'd love for you to tell me that a little bit more details on your story that I just read. Claudia, I know you got a really good paranormal story in the SOR Space Travelers. Would love to hear from you again as well. I know you just called in for a reading, but don't worry about it. Call back in. We need to hear these stories because this is what you are experiencing. This is what we're all going through. Have you ever caught a picture of a ghost? I'm not saying a blurb of light that's streaking by or an orb or anything like that, but a picture of a ghost. I was testing out one of these ghost apps that I think paid $2 for on my iPhone. I forget what it's called, but it had this photo when it apparently detected detected a ghost in the room. And I have the photo on my computer somewhere here. I have to find it, and one of these days I'll post it. But it actually, when it took the photo, looked like an outline, a red outline of Elmo. So I call it the Elmo ghost, as weird as that sounds. I'm going to post that one day in the SOR, Spaced Out Radio group page. Not the chat room page for the SOR Space Travelers, but the Spaced Out Radio group. Our rock and roll fan here on Spreaker from area code 702 down in Vegas. How you doing?
We're still rocking loud and proud.
Very nice, very nice. Where were you a couple of weeks ago when I was there?
Well, it's just one of those, I got family that comes to Vegas and they don't even call. So.
Well, that can be a good thing.
Yeah, maybe actually you're right. You're right. Sometimes they just don't want to leave. But thanks for having me on your show.
No problem. How you doing?
I'm doing good. The more I listen to you, the more I'm convinced of some of these paranormal stories and just some of the stories that I hear from you and some of the callers. And yeah, it's just. But you were talking about that little voice tonight.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a bigger voice than what people realize. You're right about that. That's one thing that I will honestly say that I'm on the same page with you, and that that voice that talks to you, whether it's a gut feeling, which to me, if your instinct, if your gut is telling you something, then you probably want to go with it. I turned 21, and like any other kid, you get to go out to your first nightclub and drink, and I did. And,
excessively.
I tell you what. Go ahead.
Excessively.
Go ahead. I've said, to the point to where I don't know how I got inside the car. I mean, but that voice told me to put on my seatbelt. And I mean, I was wasted drunk, but that voice told me to put on my seatbelt. And I did. And I drove on the freeway for about a good 20, 30 minutes. And I'm talking, if you know the LA County area, I'm talking from Whittier, California to Fontana, which is a nice little trip. So anywho, I was driving, and about 30 minutes into my drive, I fell asleep. And what woke me up is hearing the gravel and the car slipping and sliding and out of control. And once you hit the gravel at that high rate of speed, you've lost total control. I mean, you're just at the mercy of the car. And I seen what was ahead, and it was a concrete wall. And I knew that I was going to hit. I mean, there's just no way out of it. It's that point of no return. And when you're drunk, your body, your mind has the ability to relax and just go with things without having that natural reflex that we have when something's about to happen. We tense up, But that voice again, after, telling me to put on my seatbelt, thank God, and no one was hurt. Because if I had a passenger, the whole car was crushed. And this is the true story, unfortunately. So no one was hurt, but I thought that was the end of my life, And I just, that voice told me, go with the impact. And that's, even the doctors told me that if you would have tensed up or tried to fight, he said they probably would have broke your neck at least. And so I kicked out the windshield and crawled out, and I was walking off the freeway, and I wore glasses, and my glasses broke, and so I couldn't see. Everything was in a blur. But I knew I had to leave from that location, because the only thing that was going to happen is they were going to take me to the hospital and then certainly take me to jail. Absolutely.
Right.
So I had to leave. I had to leave the scene of the accident. And it's not funny. I mean, I'm not trying to laugh at the situation, but and please understand that it's not a joke. It's just for those that still do it. So anyways, I was walking off the freeway, and I seen this big blur of lights coming towards me, and I thought for sure it was a cop. And it was this lady, and I don't know where she was coming from at 3 o'clock in the morning, but she pulled off, and I stopped her because I stood in front of her, so she had no choice but to stop. And I walked up to her full of blood, dripping blood all over. And I said, please take me to my parents' house, because if I stay here, it's going to screw up the rest of my life. It's going to mess up my driver's license. I'm going to go to jail. I said, I went out tonight for my birthday, and I got drunk, ma'am, and so please just take me to my parents. It's just right down the street. I don't know. Most women wouldn't have done that. Nobody. She told me, get in the back of the car. So she took me home. And she was my guardian angel. But that is a true story. And I tell you what, after that, I still drink here and there. But driving is not even an option. In fact, it pisses me off when people do it. Innocent people can certainly get hurt. Yeah.
I hear you.
That's it. Yeah.
When you heard that voice, what did it sound like to you? That premonition voice.
Oh. As drunk as I was, and as stupid as it is to do what I did, that voice, still as drunk as I was, I didn't ignore it. That would be the time that you would. Because you just care less about anything when you're wasted the way I was. And it told me, and I listened to it. And if it wasn't for the seatbelt, number one, I wouldn't even be talking to you today. That I know. That is for sure. But then again, that voice even got louder and says, well, we're in this situation now, and it is what it is. And so, and it told me, just relax and go with it. You seem to be relaxing all night anyway, so what the hell? Just do it now anyways, too.
Oh, for sure.
And again, I'm not laughing at the situation, but,
Well, you know what? It's something, though, that paid attention. And you know what? Maybe that was your life lesson, that it opened your mind up, and it opened up your experience where you needed to learn the hard way of what happened. And look at the decisions you've made since then. You know that that's something, drinking and driving is something that you don't do. You had to learn it the hard way. Now, fortunately, you learned it without anybody getting hurt.
Right.
You know, but it sure as hell stopped you from doing it again.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I see my life flash in front of my eyes, literally. So.
And, on a lesser extent, it's the same thing when I had my ATV accident. When I was coming down that mountain, thank goodness I wasn't hurt. My bike was destroyed.
Right.
But
I was listening to you say that you just watched it disintegrate going down that mountain. Yeah.
Exactly. And when I look at that, and I've replayed it in my head hundreds of times since it happened, and I've debated whether or not I should get another ATV, but what I know now, as I've opened up more spiritually, is the fact that it's time to start listening to that little voice and figure out that it's not steering you down the wrong path, it's trying to save your life.
Right. And you're right. And it is so true. Genuinely, it is right on point. Did you ever get that other ATV? Just curious.
I have not yet. I am still debating. Got a bunch of other financial things I need to take care of, namely this show, and as of right now, I have not, but it is back on the radar where I feel a little bit more comfortable to do that now. So I will be probably, hopefully, within the next year getting another one.
Maybe just getting on one, maybe a friend's, just going for the day and trying a friend's just to see if it's still there for you.
Oh, I've already, my guides have already told me it's okay. I can go and do that. You know, they just tell me, don't be stupid and listen to us.
Right.
So that's what I'm going with.
Right.
Well,
you know what? I'm glad that you're okay, and I'm glad I'm okay. And
Absolutely.
for everybody else that's listening that has been through something similar, or if not, maybe somebody close to you, you know, we're all in this together. And so I think that through your program, I think a lot of people are able to share like what I just did. And thank you for allowing me to come on and talk about it. That's the first time that I've ever talked about that publicly. You know?
Well, thank you so much for feeling comfortable to do that. And I want to say thank you, too, because when we moved over to Spreaker, you're one of the first people who found us, who was on the Spreaker network. And I want to say thanks. You're in here quite a bit in the Space Out Radio chat room, taking part, seeing what we're all about. And I'm glad you keep coming back. And I'm glad that you have found these stories interesting and the guests interesting, because that's what we try and do here. So I appreciate you.
Well, David, thank you for saying that. It's not a problem. You know, there's a lot of a variety of things to choose from on Spreaker, and not all of it is, as far as I'm concerned, is up to par. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of bull, and it's nice and refreshing to put something on and just be real about it without all the drama and all the childish bullshit. Mm-hmm. Excuse my French, but
that's okay.
Yeah. So I really appreciate what you're doing. It's different and it's real. And I was a skeptic in the beginning, like I'm sure there's people listening right now are skeptics. But if you allow yourself and open up to it, and give it a chance, then maybe you might not only learn something, but you might be a believer. So
absolutely,
you just keep up the good work, and if you want to rock out, come and say hi to me.
I will. When's your show on?
It's a hit and miss thing, man. It's a hit and miss thing. But I got some previous podcasts, and one thing I would say to those out there: hook up your smartphone or your PC or laptop to a stereo system, rather through Bluetooth. They have cables and wires that you can buy at Walmart, and hook up to something that's got some quality sound, because Spreaker is in high definition. And I'm telling you, if you hook your system, your device up to a system that's got some power, some watts, some courage, the listening experience is just completely different. So that's how we rock out at Radio 702. And so thank you so much, Dave. I won't take more of your time, but you keep up the good work. And,
call in anytime, my friend.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Now we go to area code 530. I think this is Claudia again from the SOR Space Travelers Room. Claudia?
Yeah, hi, Dave. It's me.
I need to hear this paranormal story. I need to hear it.
It is a good one. One time I went to the spiritual meeting, and they said, it's to get whatever you want, think about it, close your eyes, see it, hear it, feel it. And there was a group of us, so I had closed my eyes, and they said, think about what you really, really want. And I was thinking, I'd like to be in spirit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, instead of being in the human body, right? So anyway, I closed my eyes, and when I closed my eyes, I swear to you, like a vision came right in front of me of a scene, and it was 6 elder Indian men sitting in a circle. And I'm staring at them, just standing there, and they all look up, and they were leaned over, almost like they were going to play drums or something. But when I appeared, they all looked up, and I thought, whoa. And so I listened, and they said, oh, where you been? It's been a long time. We haven't seen you. And I'm just looking at it. And so then they said, just remember, all is one, all is one. You know, and I'm looking around, there's a golden light in there. It was just unbelievable. So after that, I get home, and a friend calls, and he says, Claudia, I got to come over right away. I have something to tell you. I said, well, come on over. So he says, listen, I was laying down, I was meditating, and he said, I saw these men, 6 men sitting in a circle. And he said there was this golden light in there, and he looked to the left, and he said there was this big bright golden light, and he kept staring at it. He goes, it was you. And he says, they were honoring you. I said, what? But anyway, because they had told us to write down word for word what we saw and heard, I had the paper in my hand, and I said, and I told my friend, wait. I said, read this. So he read the whole thing that he saw. Can you believe that?
That is unbelievable, Claudia.
And then we thought, well, I wonder if we could do this again, because was this just a freak thing? So he knew where this mountain was that had a medicine wheel. And we thought, wow, let's just go try it. You never know, So we went up and we sat, and we both closed our eyes just to see. And it was like this vortex thing started spinning above my head, and boom, I was in this room. And I'm looking, and he was in the room, but he didn't see me. I was standing away, and I was watching him, and 2 men were talking to him. So I was just watching it. I didn't say anything. And then after about 5 or 10 minutes, it was like that vortex opened back, shoot, and I was awake. I opened my eyes. And then he he opened his eyes. And I said, what did you see? And he said, I said, let me tell you first. And I said, I saw 2 men talking to you in there, and they were kind of teasing you and stuff. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I wonder what that was all about. So we did it twice. We were at the same place twice.
Wow.
Now, I don't know what that means, and I don't even know how you do it, and I don't know why it was shown or anything, but it happened. So I thought I'd share that with you.
Claudia, I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're of First Nations descent.
Yes.
And I'm curious, because there is so much spirituality surrounding every First Nations culture,
yes.
Is it different when you get spiritual activity on a First Nations side compared to, say, you're walking around a shopping mall, or you're at a friend's house, or you're in a park and you get spirit activity of non-First Nations? Is it a different vibration, a different energy? Have you ever had that happen?
Well, to me, because children from the time they're little are taught that everything is real. Ghosts are real. In fact, I remember when my daughter was really little and my nephew were in the home he was there all the time. They would hear noises and things falling, and I just say, be really nice to them, talk to them, tell them to scoot over. But be really nice. So the kids knew from the time they were little there were spirits talking to them. But when you're Native American, Indian, you're taught that from the time you're little. So, like most people go into a lot of things with fear constantly because it's the unknown. But if you have elders and you have people telling you all the time, this is what that means, then there's no fear. So then all these things open up easier. And so to them it's just natural. It's just a natural event. It's just natural. That's, you know what I mean? And so there's the...
Please, go ahead. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's just the fear is removed. And I think once that fear is removed, that's when the door opens for so many things. Because anything is possible, if you allow it. But it's easier if you have people that have always explained to you these things, because otherwise it is scary. But once you're taught, then it's not what it is or how it works, or you know what I mean?
Karen in the Space Out Radio chat room is asking what First Nation you are. What is your background?
Pomo Indian, that's a California Indian, and my grandfather was full-blooded Apache, so there's quite a bit. But, in the sweat lodges, it's really funny because the reason it's pitch black is they tell you that's how you learn to see when it's pitch black.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. And the sweat lodges are beautiful because it's just praying, and you can always feel. Like one time I went to a peyote ceremony, and I swear to you, it was a healing ceremony. It was from 9 at night till 9 in the morning, and oh my God, that was crazy. You could hear hundreds of voices, like surround sound, and it sounded like God, just all the relatives coming forward in the teepee. And it was a huge teepee, like 30 people. And they had these 2 fire tenders. They're the ones that keep the fire going. In this case, it was inside the teepee, so the fire was going all night. And these kids, 2 boys, like 9 and 10, kept the fire going all night long. It was amazing. But anyway, so they tell you to keep your eyes in the fire because you'll see all these things coming out of the fire. It's amazing. There's so much to the other side, and once you welcome and understand, that's why I love that the guest last night. He was saying they're all your friends, because if the other side they are, it's just a veil separating us. So talk to them like it's your uncle, or your brother, And this one Indian elder taught us to use the power of thought. That was really interesting, because he had taught us from simple things in the beginning, like, if you want to grow your fingernails with the thought, close your eyes, see them long. Well, this one girl, in 3 months, her nails were long. But anyway, that was just simple exercises. Then he taught us to go as a group, 2 places, together with our eyes closed. So we start traveling together and doing all these things. But it's really fascinating. Like I say, I think where the Indians are blessed is they listen to the elders, and they understand that they have knowledge. Not like in this time, in this age, the children don't listen to the elders at all. But when it's passed on, you can learn so much because they've done it.
I agree with you.
But anyway, I just had to share that story with my friend and I, because we still don't know what happened or how it happened, but it happened,
Uh-huh. Claudia, thank you so much. I could listen to your stories all the time. I really could.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Take care. That's
okay,
Claudia. That's Claudia, one of our great listeners in the SOR Space Travelers Facebook page. If you want to join that, you're more than welcome to as well. And it's time for a little Bumblefoot. We want to thank everybody who called in tonight and sent messages in the Space Out Radio chat room or SOR Space Travelers room, as well as everybody listening in the SOR chat rooms, Paranormal Forum, and on SHR Media. Thank you so much for being with us. Our guest in the first 2 hours was author Maureen McGill. And what a great book that she has. Must have been a lot of fun to research. Baby, It's You, Messages from Deceased Heroes. You can get that on Amazon right now. Tomorrow night on the show, we're talking Bigfoot with Edie Kaito and Mike Johnston. It's a different look at Bigfoot, not the scary, hairy creature that we think is roaming the woods and the swamps of North America. Edie has a gifting sight. Mike has a relationship with certain beings in the forest. His stories are incredible. So are Edie's. That's tomorrow night. We head into the forest. If you want to follow us on Twitter, you can do so at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, we can be followed at Dave Scott, SOR. Our YouTube channel, where our archives are, much like this show, our Spaced Out Radio Show. Subscribe to our channel. And our website is spacedoutradio.com. Absolute pleasure to broadcast all of you. We will talk to you in exactly 21 hours. It used to be 22 hours, but since we've now moved the format to 3 hours a night, it's at 21 hours now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate your time. We'll rock it on out with Bumblefoot. You want to learn more about Bumblefoot? Go to our Spaced Out Radio website. Click on the Bumblefoot tab. Tell you how you can get a hold of them. We had one listener actually say, "Hey, Bumblefoot, listen to your music on Spaced Out Radio. Absolutely love it." Bumblefoot actually got back to him on social media and said, "Thanks, man. Really appreciate it." It's the kind of guy he is. He's real. And he rocks. Have some fun tonight. It's almost bedtime. We'll rock it out right to the end. Good night.